would be a good idea for some people to go back home. Yeah. Then the others can stay behind. Oh, I see we are live. Welcome, YouTube, to our discussion today. My name is Dorcas, and we are talking about abortion. Yes, yes, yes. That big one, abortion. I'm standing in for our official moderator. He told us earlier today that he's not able to make it, so I'm just going to hold brief for him. Now, thank you, El Maestro, for posting the questions. And we'll get straight into it. By the way, even before we get straight into it, I have to clarify that this is the second time we're having the abortion discussion. We addressed this topic about 1.5 years ago, but at that time, our live streams were irregular. Our YouTube live streams were very irregular. So at that time, we held it, but we didn't record it. We were unable to. And whenever we have a topic which is hot, which flares tempers, and never actually gets to a consensus, whenever we have a topic like that, we can revisit it if we have not recorded. But if we've recorded, then I think it's redundant for us to repeat the topic. So since we had not recorded the abortion debate, today we are going to have it. It was spurred by the recent goings on in the United States of America. They have elected a president who is anti-abortion. He started this campaign in his first term, and he selected Supreme Court justices that reversed the Roe versus Wade case. That law used to allow abortion up to the second trimester. And it was passed, the Roe versus Wade was passed because it was assumed that the decision to abort is a woman's private decision. So if the law interfered, then it would be mangling her privacy laws. Privacy took precedence over fetal rights. But then when President Trump was elected into office the first time, he elected Supreme Court justices that were anti-abortion. They reversed the Roe versus Wade decision, and they said that the Constitution of America does not defend women's privacy rights. So they said that they are going to take the matter, they're passing on the matter to states, various states in the US. It's a federal system. So states are the ones to legislate and decide whether they outrightly ban abortion, whether they allow it until the second trimester or whatever. But the trend has been that in many conservative states, they outrightly banned abortion right after the reversal of Roe versus Wade was done. So people are saying now that Donald Trump is coming back, he's even going to go harder on the matter. And in fact, there were people, it was purported, who went and had vasectomies because they felt that now that the abortion door was closed, they could no longer have any recourse. So that's what spurred the debate. And it's been going on our group. You guys, hey, you are so animated. You're so passionate about the issue on the WhatsApp group. Hey, I came back. I checked my messages yesterday morning. Then when I checked today, I had 600 messages. That's how polarizing abortion is. Yes, now that's the background. Let's get into the details. Of course, as is the norm, we start with the definition. And here, as we talk about the definition of abortion, we can also talk about the types of abortion, if you're aware, if you know some of them. I really wish Dr. Luchebeleli made it for the meeting, but it's okay if he didn't. So we can talk about the types of abortions, and we can also clarify terms. What is a zygote? What is an embryo? And what is a fetus? Okay, a fetus and even a baby, because people keep muzzling all these words. They keep mixing them up. So please tell us, if you can, all of those, the definition of abortion, what's your understanding of the definition of abortion, what are the types of abortions you are aware of, and do you know the difference between a zygote, an embryo, and a fetus, and a baby? So don't give us your position yet. We have not gotten to that part. We are just defining terms. Please raise your hand so that we can start the discussion. Don't be shy, guys. In fact, I think Maurice had said that he will introduce the topic and he won't be around for long. So perhaps, Maurice, this is your chance to shine. You can tell us what is your understanding of the definition of abortion and the types. You're muted.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, now we can hear you.
There's no shining with abortion. There's nothing to shine with abortion. If I want to shine, I'll look for something else, not abortion. So yeah, the definitions are very important. I'll let people. I don't know most of those definitions. What I know is that people on this topic stick to definitions so that they can be able to stick in their preconceived conclusions. So you've already concluded that abortion is bad or abortion is good, and therefore you come up with definitions, not because you really want to define in clear terms, but people normally who make cases, especially the conservatives, they like the word babies. Once an ovum and a sperm has met, that's a baby. That's a baby. Once they have fused, that's a baby. So and then they would say, hey, what is an embryo? An embryo is also a baby. And then they bring issues of heartbeat and whatever. So it's normally a very sensitive topic. But I have to declare my third pro-abortion. I'm not anti-life. I'm pro-choice. I believe people should be free to do whatever they want with their body. And my biggest reason for me supporting abortion, okay. I don't want to preempt the other question, but there was, I think, one of the questions that you have listed there is one of the queries that will come up is, at what stage should abortion be allowed? For me, I'm so liberal on that issue. I am for abortion even 30 minutes to delivery. I believe it's not my role to dictate what someone should do with their body. As long as that abortion. The other thing you also need to clarify is that abortion does not lead to the death of the baby necessarily. In most cases, it does, but it doesn't. It's not the same thing. There are people who normally have complications with their pregnancy and they just remove it and the baby survives, especially if it's in later stages. However, I also think it's careless. I don't think it should be illegal. I don't think it's immoral, but I think it's careless to have abortions past 6-7 months. I think if you really want to abort, I think it's one too much. It's risky for you. The older the pregnancy, it's risky for the woman. So I think it's careless. But either way, I think you're right. You can choose to be careless because you cannot. It's easy to judge when you're not the one getting pregnant. But it also has many factors. You could be in a very serious relationship and you're looking forward to having this man's kid, and then you get pregnancy and things change at 7 months. I don't think someone should be forced to keep a kid for someone they don't want to be with for this. So I that's why I'm for abortion at whatever stage of life. The other thing I wanted to say is my biggest reason for abortion is personhood. I'm more into philosophy than the physical, whether it's fusion. I don't think anybody should be able to use any other person's body without their consent. And whether you call them babies or fetus or zygote, they don't get an exception on that. You don't use my body. And in the same way, and people, hey, but what about if it is not in dead? So my normally counter to that is, if my friend is suffering from kidney failure, and it's determined that one of my kidney could save him, do you think we should make a law that I should be forced to give him a kidney? That we can now go arresting people, putting them in prison because they didn't give someone that kidney, or you are forced, it's taken to you forcefully. That is when you say no to that, now you understand the definition of personhood. Because I could survive comfortably with one kidney and I could save a life. But if I don't want to, why should I be forced to? And that is exactly my reason for abortion. If a kid has no right to use the mother's body without the mother's consent, at later stages, if it can survive outside it, that's okay. There's modern technology, but it is mothers and mothers. It's not even the father of the kid or the whatever. It is the mother's choice, personhood. But as I said, I think it's careless to have abortion at later stages. But if it comes to abortion, if you feel you don't even need, because the conservative says, oh, in case of mother is in danger, in case of rape, incest. No, if you don't feel like having it, about that is my position. You don't even need to have been through all these traumatic situations. Do you feel like you want it? No. It's your body. Do whatever. You're going to live with the consequences. It's also, finally, I have to say, it's not a risk-free. The way people try to put it, it's not a risk-free process. It's not like, oh, I want to remove the kid, the fetus, whatever, and it remove. People have to weigh options, because it's also I've lost my neighbor, I've lost my teacher to abortion. It's not a risk-free process. It's a very sensitive terms of health. It's a life-risking process. And that is why whatever the consequences, people should be educated enough to know whatever risk they are taking. That is abortion for me. Okay, not for me, for the ladies.
Okay, now Maurice has preempted the discussion. He's looked at the limitations on abortion. He's looked at the downsides of abortion. He's looked at the arguments for it. He's talked about person, like he literally covered everything. And I understand because he's kind of in a hurry. But we will put a pin on some of the issues he's raised and revisit them when we get to those subtopics, because he's raised some very interesting ideas, but we will get to them when we get to those subtopics. And it is interesting when he said that these definitions are often tainted with our agendas. Most people want to humanize what a woman is carrying inside her while pregnant. They want to humanize it if they are anti-abortion. But if they are pro-abortion, then they will call it a different name. They'll use a different definition. So he's right on that one. Let's remember we are still on the definitions and the types, the definitions and the types of abortion. Morioki, you're next, and then we'll hear from Still Me. Morioki, are you saying something? Is it me or Morioki, there's a problem with your audio.
Morioki is in photo mode.
Yeah, Morioki, please fix your device. We'll get back to you when you do. There's a problem. Let's proceed to Still Me.
Okay. The definition I have for abortion is, I think, the clinical term for it, which is just the removal of a pregnancy from the uterus, like just that. Whatever stage, if the pregnancy is not viable, if the result of the pregnancy is not viable, that's an abortion. Like, as long as it does not result in a birth, that's an abortion. Types of abortion, I know of two, and I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong. So there's the most common one, the one that most people know of, that is through the pill. There's the 2 pills you can take. I know of one, misoprostol. I've forgotten the name of the other one. I'll check it and come back. And then there's the surgical one, which you can use a vacuum, or I've forgotten the other one, but yes, you can use a vacuum. Or the other way, it's basically done the same way we do a cesarean section. What was the other part of the question? So there was definition and types. Yes. So, oh yeah, and you also asked like the difference between the embryo, the zygote, and the fetus. Basically, an embryo, no, it starts as a zygote. A zygote is immediately after fertilization, that mass of cells immediately after fertilization, before it starts dividing up. So it's just one cell. Then the embryo is from that moment of division, when the zygote starts dividing up, it now becomes an embryo. From that moment to around, is it 9 to 11 weeks? So between 9 to 11 weeks is when the embryo travels down the fallopian tubes, implants itself onto the walls of the uterus, normally the upper wall of the uterus, but Mother Nature can happen, so it can implant anywhere in the uterus, but it's usually supposed to be the upper wall or the sides of the uterus lining. So the embryo implants itself, and from that point, that's usually around the 4-week mark, between 4 and 5 weeks. Let's say 4 to 6 weeks, yes, 4 to 6 weeks. And then from the 6th week, it's still an embryo up till the 9th to 11th week. That's when it turns into a fetus. And then from fetus, it develops until birth. And then now after birth, like that, the moment it's out of the vaginal canal, that's when it turns into a baby. Yeah.
Very well said. Thank you so much. Still Me. I concur with your definitions. Morioki, you are back. Just when I called him, akatoka, shetani ashindwe. Shetani ashindwe. Ama ni aheshimiwe, because it might be God who doesn't want atheists to meet. Anyway, he will join us when he can. I will stillman what Still Me has just said. On the definition, I got it as below: termination of a pregnancy by expulsion of the fetus or embryo. It's a termination of a pregnancy. That is an abortion. What is the difference between a zygote embryo and fetus? The zygote is usually 1 week old. As Stilney said, it is when the egg and the sperm have just fused together, right after fertilization. I believe the first 2 weeks, that is a zygote. And then it becomes an embryo, as she said, 3 to 8 weeks. 3 to 8 weeks, it is an embryo because it has implanted itself in the uterus. But there are some women who have ectopic pregnancies and it ends up implanting in the fallopian tube, and that is actually very risky to your life. So embryo, 3 to 8 weeks. The first 2 months of your pregnancy, minus the first 2 weeks, that is an embryo you are carrying in there. And then the fetus is between 9 weeks to 40 weeks. 40 weeks is normally when women give birth, but there are some who extend by an extra 2 weeks maximum. Yeah, by that time, huyo mtoto ameiba sana. Ako ready to come out. So usually 9 to 40 weeks, the child, look, I'm still calling it that, force of habit. So the fetus, between 9 to 40 weeks, the fetus is what is being carried in the womb. And then the moment it has come out of the woman's body and it is alive, if it has come out and it is alive, then that is a baby. That is a baby. Yes, I also agree with Stillney on the types of abortions. However, I would like to add the element of the natural aspect. There are induced abortions, and then there are spontaneous abortions. These are what we colloquially call miscarriages. Imagine there are also abortions. In medical fields, there are also abortions. So what happens is the spontaneous abortions are many. They range from the ones that are threatened abortions, where there's bleeding and the child is intact. Then there's bleeding and the pregnancy is terminated, but there are some products of conception that stay in the woman's body, and those ones have to be expelled. Then there are others that are complete spontaneous abortions, where the entire pregnancy comes out. There are no products of conception that are left. So those are still types of abortions, but they are spontaneous. They are not induced. Then the one that we always think of is the induced one. And the induced ones can be medical or non-medical. So the non-medical are the ones that are done by people. Maybe they can take herbs, they can take all these concoctions, they can use some clandestine ways, some very draconian ways of removing the pregnancy. I remember there was a lady who said she was so desperate to get rid of her pregnancy that she wanted to drink jik. She thought about drinking jik. She thought about making herself fall down a long flight of stairs, she would hit her stomach so many times just so that she would expel that pregnancy. So those are the non-medical methods of abortion, and they are obviously very unsafe. And then we have the medical types of abortions, which Stillney has mentioned. So yeah, the first one she said was an MVA, manual vacuum aspiration. It uses a suction device to remove the pregnancy, the fetus or whatever. And then we have the D and E, that is a surgical procedure, dilation and extraction. And then we have medical. We have, what are they called? Medicine, tablets. Yeah, you take tablets. Now, as for when these procedures are done, I'm glad I see Dr. Luchaveleli is here. He will clarify to us when is the right time to do an MVA, when is the right time to do a DNE, or when is the right time to do the pills, because their effectiveness diminishes depending on the stage of pregnancy in which one is. So maybe he will speak as he continues. Now, let's proceed to the next question. The next question is, why do people have abortions? I know some of us are dying to give us reasons why they are pro-abortion or anti-abortion. We are not there yet, guys. We are still leading up to it. We are still understanding the basics first, okay? So let's look at that question. Why do people have abortions? What are the causes of abortions? And all the types. As I've said, we have abortions that are natural, that are spontaneous, and we also have abortions that are induced. So what are the causes of abortions, all the types of abortions that exist? Morioki, I hope your device is working now. Able we try? Morioki?
Yes, you can hear me now, eh? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, although
it
is, we can hear you, although it is a bit groggy, it's rough, but Nisawa, just continue.
Yeah. Mambia village. Mambia village. Eh? Oh yeah, I'm saying abortions because of unplanned sex and maybe rape. Yeah, unplanned sex and maybe rape. Yeah, thanks. You heard me.
Yes, we had you, although audio yako iko na shida. If you can look for a location in your house that has better reception, it would be great, because it is very shaky. Your audio is very, very shaky. But we've had you, you've said, because of unplanned sex and rape. Now, that one of unplanned sex, I don't know whether it is your phrasing which is wrong, because we can plan sex. I can meet up with a guy, and I've known him for months, and we decide we are having sex. We are planning to have sex. We planned it. I've planned to have sex. Does that mean that now I get pregnant, that I'll get pregnant and that I'll have an abortion? You know, I think maybe Moroki was not very clear there. But we proceed to Still Me, and then we'll go to Ndeve.
I think what Morioki should have said was not unplanned sex, but unplanned pregnancies. Because, like as you said, you can meet up with someone you'd maybe planned to have sex with, and then a pregnancy occurs which you hadn't planned for. So I think the point is better as unplanned pregnancies. Yes, rape, by not wanting children. Like generally, this person is child free from the start, and even if they're having sex, they do not want kids. People change their mind all the time. Like maybe you wanted the kid, and then it's 2 months into the pregnancy, and suddenly something happens in your life, and you're like, yeah, I am not cut out for this. I don't want to be a parent anymore. Those are the only reasons I have off the top of my head at the moment.
Yes, there are people who are child free, They are opposed to the idea of ever having children. So yeah, agreed. Next is Deva.
Yep. Hello, everyone. I almost missed this meeting, but I'm here. Thank you very much. Still me. That I came in. I was in and out of the house while you were talking, and that was really a very good. That was very educative on what it is. But I hope sometime you are going to tell us about viability. All this because as I got well and all that, you will. I'm sure you will tell us about viability. But let me answer the question about why abortion. I'm going to say that the very first reason why people will resort to abortion is lack of sex education. That's it. Now, rape and all those, those are crimes. You did not, people did not go, one party did not go into it. But I'm sure that the most abortion is from two parties that went into it, but they did not have sex education. So I'm hoping also that somebody is going to walk us through biology and really go into the nitty-gritty on what is happening and why should people be getting pregnant in 2024. Thank you.
Sorry, this phone of mine is due for an update. Guys, my birthday is next month. Next month, but January. So if you're thinking of gifts to buy me, a phone would be great. Yeah, so there'll be that lag when I unmute myself. It takes a while. So Deva has put us to task and asked somebody to explain the conception process because there are people who don't understand how their bodies work. They don't have sex education. In fact, the reproductive system is one that is laden with myths, a lot of myths, a lot of old wives' tales. Ati ukiruka mara tatu hautapata ball. Yeah, there are a lot of there's a lot of misinformation that is flying around there. So yes, indeed. El Maestro, you're next. Let me just not unmute myself so that I don't have those problems. I'll just be really quiet in the background. El Maestro, go ahead.
Okay. Before I go on to with my point, I'd like to also agree with Neve. She has said about lack of sex education or some lies that go on. Imagine until last year, I used to think that anal sex does not cause pregnancy, and I heard it from someone that anal sex does not cause pregnancy. Until last year is when I found out that it can actually cause pregnancy. So I think yes, lack of sex education.
Wait a minute. El Maestro, these are the myths we are talking about. So according to you, you think somebody can get pregnant by anal sex?
It cannot. Wait.
No, you can't. The anal passage is very different from the reproductive passage. You can't.
It was someone in this very Zoom meeting who said it. You can anal sex can cause pregnancy.
If I can clarify, a Mastro, maybe
yes?
it's the spillover.
Spillover.
Yeah. Maybe there was some mistake and some part get inside. Yeah.
Flows from the anal passage, now it goes to the vagina. But it has to be the vaginal entrance, El Maestro.
Okay.
It's not, you can't get pregnant by anal. No, that's a very different passage.
Last year someone told me you can. Okay.
This is why we need to have that class. Anatomy 101. I see Eugene has left the meeting. Damn, he's the doctor here. He would really have been perfect to clarify this. But still me, I don't know whether you're raising your hand in order to respond to what El Maestro just said. If that is the case, then you will speak after him, but let him finish his point. Was that all you wanted to say, Maestro?
That is what we are talking about now, about this lack of sex education. Okay, another thing is I think Muriuki said unplanned sex. I think he's right. Like two people they are not planned sex, but then they go and take alcohol, and alcohol impairs your judgment, and you all of a sudden you just go on and have sex because maybe you had alcohol. Isn't that, can you say that it was unplanned because your judgment was impaired with the alcohol thing? Maybe he might be right about that, or sometimes even just over excitement. Don't know if that can qualify over excitement, but of course the unplanned sex is a point. But then also another reason maybe people can have abortion is, the reality, when the reality is maybe two people had sex, and maybe they're in a relationship, then the husband the man finds out that this woman she's pregnant, but then this man says, you are pregnant. No, me, I don't want to have this woman wants to have a child, but the man does not want. That is, I'm talking about now the reality of things on the ground. The man does not want to have a child. The woman wants the child, but then this woman, because and he told, if you ukizaa huyu mtoto, don't means I won't be there for I won't provide. Then the woman just decide, maybe if she's not financially well off, she just decide to abort. That is some reasons that actually one of my cousins did that. He just told his girlfriend that me is struggling on thought, and his girlfriend went on to abort the baby, and they broke up. And that is the reality on the ground now. The reality.
So at the heart of it, it could be financial reasons.
Yeah,
The guy was not able to take care of that child once they are born, or even career reasons. Maybe he's at a place in his career where he's not ready to take on the responsibility of being a parent yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Sawa, thank you, El Maestro. But he said something controversial. Eugene, you are back. Good. Thank you. Luchabeleli is back. The doctor in the house. Please debunk or confirm this assertion. Can you get pregnant via anal sex? And also, if possible, give us a very short description of the human reproductive process, because most people are uneducated about it. That's why they end up being accidentally pregnant. Eugene, if possible, if you raise your hand and we can hear from you after. Still me wanted to respond to what El Maestro had said.
El Maestro, I just wanted to give you an anatomy 101 class, just to help you debunk the myth that you had. Okay, it's not a myth. Yes, you can, very unlikely, like chances are rare that you can get a lady pregnant through anal sex, but it can happen. Like someone had commented on Nova, that can happen. Very rare, but I mean, rare occurrences do happen. So anatomy 101. Ladies have 3 holes down there. I'm sorry for being graphic. Anyone who feels offended, I am very sorry before I go on. But ladies have 3 openings down there. So generally, males have 2. You have the urinary canal, which also passes semen, and then the anus. Ladies have 3: the urethra, the vaginal canal, and the anus. The only way a lady can get pregnant is if sperm goes up the anus, into the cervix, and then into the fallopian tube to get to the ovum. If that doesn't happen, if there's anything that
tell me, you just said that the only way she can get pregnant is if the sperm goes up the anus and into.
Oh my God, I meant the vaginal canal. Sorry.
Yes.
It's only if it goes up the vagina, into the cervix, up the uterus, a bit up the fallopian tube, then meets the ovum. If anything stops that continuous cycle, there's no fertilization happening. So yes, anal sex can get you pregnant. Very rare occurrence, but it's as unlikely as getting pregnant if you're using a condom the right way. Yeah, that's all I wanted to explain to El Maestro.
Aha, thank you so much, Still Me, for debunking that idea, El Maestro. Worry. Maybe in your heart you wanted to do Arnold someday, and then you are stopping because you thought you'd make someone pregnant. Now go ahead, Jibambe. Go ahead, Jibambe. So Eugene, I don't know whether your device is okay, if you can respond to some of those ideas, Lucheveleli. Oh my, perhaps he's not close to his gadget. Maybe he'll join us later. Now, let me also answer that question on why do people get abortions? And then we can proceed to the next question, which is the $1 million one. The $1 million question, which is what are the arguments for abortion? Pro-abortion arguments. Pro-abortion. If you are against abortions, please shut up first. We'll get to you in the next question. The 5th one, actually, the one after this one. So pro-abortion arguments, start thinking of them as I give my take. Why do people get abortions? I agree with you all on the lack of sex education. People are not familiar with how their bodies work. And sometimes our bodies also are kind of hard to predict. It's not a precise science. So for instance, if you're using the safe days method, sometimes your cycle, there's somebody's mic that is unmuted. I think that's Anthony. Please mute. Thank you. So if you're using the safe days method, Anthony, please mute. Or another host, please mute him on my behalf. I'm unable to multitask. So if you're using that method, sometimes you might not calculate your days properly, or you might not know how to calculate. So I might as well get into it very quickly. Most women have a 28-day cycle, that is between day 1 of your period to the next month's period. 28 days lapse. Okay, so if it's 28 days, you subtract 11 days from the 28. It's usually around day 18, day 17 or day 18, thereabout. So we go with around day 18 and day 8. When you you start menstruating, you count up to day 8. So between day 8 to day 18, you are not safe. At that time, your body has released the egg from its ovary. The egg comes out once a month on average. There are some women whose cycle is short. It can be 21 days. So you might find that in some months you can have periods twice. So once that happens, you are unsafe. The ovum is out there, and if a sperm is released, it will meet it and you'll get pregnant. So between day 8 and day 18, don't have sex. However, there are many women who maybe they're not judicious in counting those days, or they have irregular cycles. If your cycle is irregular, then unfortunately you've got a problem. So get educated. If your cycle is not 28 days, if it's 21 days, or if it's 35 days, whatever amount of days it is, get educated on when the days are not safe. We even have apps that track ovulation, or that track safe days and unsafe days. So there's some women who are just not that judicious about it. Then on the man's part, there is contraceptive failure. And I cannot stress this enough. So many people get unwanted pregnancies because contraceptives failed. They consented to sex, they planned for sex, but they didn't plan for a pregnancy. Consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy. So they went in knowing that I am protected. I'm using a contraceptive. But alas, the contraceptive fails. How does it fail? If they're using the withdrawal method, there are some men whose withdrawal game is subpar. So the sweetness gets too intense and it doesn't come out on time. Or it doesn't urinate after the first shot. I'm told that after the first shot, it can get riskier. Your probability of having some spillover sperm from that first ejaculate is higher. So you need to urinate before you go for the second shot. So there's that aspect. Maybe his withdrawal game is not on point, or there could be some men who are disingenuous when using the condom. They remove the condom behind the woman's back. It's called stilting. And it's really bad because some people have infected others with HIV using that approach. So the guy will stilt. He will remove the condom secretly in the dark because he wants to feel her nyama kwa nyama. And that leads to a pregnancy. Or it might not come from a sinister place. Maybe the condom was of low quality, or the person's the person's stamina is too much. He stayed for too long. The lady got dry. There was friction, and the condom tore up, or it slipped. Or the person ejaculates and they do not remove the condom right away. So you start to wither, you start to soften. Your erection becomes soft while you're still inside, and that increases the likelihood that the condom will come out. So educating yourself on proper condom usage is important. Those who are educated might also have sinister motives where they just want to enjoy the flesh to flesh sensation. So they secretly remove the condom. There's also that possibility. Then when it comes to these other contraceptives, the ones that are taken, if it's the morning after pill, I told you guys before, oh my gosh, the morning after pill does not work when you're ovulating. As soon as you've ovulated, it's ineffective because the morning after pill works to prevent ovulation. So it is not fail-safe. I heard this song, a gengeton song, dem wangu anadai tu matembe. huyo anadai tu matembe, atalia hapa mimba. Because she doesn't know, she's uneducated. And chemists don't even tell you that. So there's that, the morning after pill. Then the everyday pill, if you forget to take it, it can have issues. It can have those complications. It is not 100% fail safe. Then the vasectomy is really is a highly effective method, or the tubal ligation. Both of them are highly effective, but there's always the possibility of the vasectomy opening up. You remember the Bungoma guy? That's why you need to go get checked as soon as the procedure is done. I think 2 weeks after, you need to go and get checked to confirm that it is still intact, that it didn't reopen. So there's so many chances of these things failing. Even if you used to, there's an auntie of mine who was on 3 methods of preventing pregnancy, and she got pregnant and she had twins. So I cannot stress enough this issue of contraceptive failure. They are not 100% safe. The only 100% safe method is abstinence, and abstinence is not realistic. So there's that. Then there could also be other reasons for having abortions. You might be unwell. You might be physically unwell. You might be mentally unwell. Maybe you have bipolar. Maybe you have all these things, and they prevent you from being a mother, a parent to the child, the unborn child eventually. So that would be another reason. Yeah, you guys have mentioned finances and economic positions. And yeah, I have to add, being an antinatalist, there are people who are fundamentally opposed to the idea of bringing another life into this world, because they believe that this life is synonymous with suffering. So you're doing an immoral thing by allowing somebody to live in that suffering. So yeah, those are some of the reasons I can think of off the top of my head. So let's proceed to the next question. Pro-abortion arguments. How would you defend the right to abort? What arguments would you give to support women's right to choose to abort? What are the reasons, guys? Please raise your hands. Yes, I see Morioki is leading the way. Please go ahead, Morioki.
Doctor, so can you hear me now, Doctor? Hope I'm clear now. Can you hear me?
Yes, great. Go ahead.
I'm clear. Eh?
Yes.
Okay, fine, thanks. Well, I think I just got slightly off topic. Eh? I think El Maestro just bashed gazing. What he said, he just showed gazing. It's a waste of time and energy. It's anal sex. It wastes time and energy. Thanks. Okay, so now reasons for abortion is
Morioki. Why do you think it's a waste of time? Here we go again. Ooh, exactly what you do on the WhatsApp group. Why do you think it's a waste of time? Why? Are you there? You're breaking off. What? Why, Morioki, you're breaking off? Unfortunately, Morioki, we can't hear you. Morioki, we can't hear you.
Just say, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Morioki, we can't hear you. Sorry, Morioki, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. But from the little you said, which we had, at he gazing, he's bashed gazing because gazing is a waste of time. You are insinuating that sex, the purpose of sex is to have children. So if you can't have children, then you are wasting time if you have sex, which is so flawed. Morioki, this is the argument you've been bringing up on the WhatsApp group. Let me wait for you to come back so that we can address this while you're here. We can debunk this myth that you hold that sex has some grand purpose. Anyway, yeah, we proceed to Still Me, and then after Deve. Remember, we are answering the question of what are pro-abortion arguments.
Could you let Ndeva go before me? Then I'll go after him, please.
Okay. Ndeva, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Still me. I'm usually brief, and I want still me to be to elaborate. I would say that one of the major reasons to have abortion, and I'm also going to defend it, is, let us say, in a situation of a rape, or if a scan of the fetus shows some issues. Now, those are. I'm not going to go there, but it's up to a couple or the people that know what is ahead of them, because it's the same reason. You're looking at the pregnancy and you're saying, this is what's ahead of my baby. My baby is going to have no father. My baby is going to have no food, no education. No, those are the things, the same things that you're looking at when you see the fetus and you see, I'm not going to say viability or whatever problems might be there. So, and I'm not going into the morals of viability or anything. I'm just saying that you've looked at what is ahead for the baby and decide and made those decisions. The person that has it, and let us not also forget, when it comes to viability, there are spontaneous abortions. There probably are more spontaneous abortions than babies. And the reason, and I'm really waiting for Lucheveleli and still me to go into this, the reason there are spontaneous abortions is that the dynamics of the womb and the fetus looks at it and says that, no, kid, there's no future for you, out you go. So it's not even the woman flashing it out, but it is just the dynamics. Could be it is rejected by the body that no, not good for you. You go. So yeah. Those are, for me. That's the way I would look at it. That you've decided that this is the future, and you don't want the kid to have this future. Thank you.
Great. Yes. In order to alleviate the suffering of that unborn, of that fetus, let me call it that, of the fetus. Lucheveleli, how are you? How is your device at the moment? We are dying to hear your professional take on this. Are you able to speak? Oh my. Okay. I think he's not. Keep working on it, but we would really appreciate hearing from a doctor some of these ideas. Yes, still me. It's your turn now.
First of all, I'd like to apologize to Ndeva. I called her a him. I'm really sorry for misgendering you. Second, this is an opinion. I stand to be corrected if it's wrong, but yes, I think Ndeva is right to say that there are more spontaneous abortions. Like, as ladies, we've all had this experience. You have a pregnancy scare, and then your period is maybe a week, 2 weeks late, and boom, out of nowhere, you have this period that lasts like just a bit longer than your normal period. And most of us don't get checked because I've gotten my period, so I don't want to stress about it. But those instances could mainly be your body just aborting the already fertilized zygote. On points to support abortion, my biggest focal point is always anatomy. like everyone getting not autonomy, like everyone just getting a chance to say, this is my body, I can do this with my body. Because an argument that has come up in the States after the overturning of Roe v. Wade is, what laws are there that prevent men from making decisions about their own bodies? Because preventing a lady from having an abortion is basically telling her, I own your body for the next 40 weeks, or 40 to 42 weeks, depending on when the baby is born. But it's basically telling that lady, for the next few weeks, you cannot make a choice for your body. You cannot make a choice what you want to do with your own body. And in as much as pregnancy is a blessing if the baby is wanted, it's also a curse if you cannot provide for the kid. It's also a curse if you cannot even provide for yourself as a person. And then here it is, you have a whole other human being that you suddenly have to provide and care for the next probably 18 years. For one, yes, it's bodily autonomy. Everyone should just get a chance to do what they want with their own bodies. Number two is just giving people the choice to be or not be parents. I think I'd mentioned this in the skeptics group. If a guy has made the decision, they don't want to be a parent, and maybe they have to, in my skewed way of viewing it, they have to have mentioned it before engaging in the act of sex. If they'd mentioned that they don't want to be a parent before they get into sex, and then the lady gets pregnant, maybe the condom broke, maybe something happened, the lady gets pregnant, he should be allowed not to pay parental support for the kid, because I'd said, I don't want a kid, I'm not ready to be a dad, I shouldn't. If men can get the chance to just vamoose after pregnancy or vamoose after the kid is born, ladies should also be given the chance to say, I don't want to be a mother, I don't want to have this kid. Yes, and it all goes just back to autonomy. So yes, for me, the only point for abortion has always been and will always be giving someone autonomy and the chance to be, this is my body, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. Yes. Thank you.
Very well said, still me. Autonomy. Next is Morioki. Morioki, ushago manenos. Let's see.
Lucas, are we on the same question? Are we on the same question? You asked earlier. Why people abort? Why they abort?
No. We moved on. We are now looking at arguments for abortion, pro-abortion arguments.
Okay. Oh yeah, okay. I just say the mother's life might be at risk. If the mother's life is at risk, she can abort. Yeah, that's it.
Now, Morioki, let's go back to that time you were cut off. You were speaking about El Maestro bashing gay sex. Ebu, elaborate, please.
Yeah, anal sex does nothing. It's a waste of time and energy because it does nothing. It serves no purpose.
What do you mean does? What do you mean? What is the purpose of sex according to you?
Life, creating new life.
That right there is the problem, Morioki. That right there is the problem. I'd like people to respond to Morioki before I give my take. I'd like people to respond to Morioki because Morioki is saying the purpose of sex is to bring life into the world. That's what Morioki is saying.
Can I respond?
Great, I see. I see El Maestro, I see ex-Pastor Stano's hand is also up. El Maestro, go.
Now, if you say, my friend Morok, we all know that anal sex does not you cannot get there's a very it's very unlikely for someone to get a a child when they have anal sex. So what else do you think they're having anal sex for? What else? It is pleasure,
Yeah,
for
of course,
pleasure.
yeah, of course, yeah. But a waste of time
So
and
why are you
energy.
saying it's
Yeah.
useless? So why are you saying it is useless? If people are having pleasure, why do you think it's useless? People are having pleasure. If for
Because
you are anti-pleasure, maybe if for you are anti-pleasure, that is for you. But people are having pleasure, and that's why anal sex is not useless as you think. People are having pleasure.
and Maestro, in the other one, you love pleasure and create life. There are two things, pleasure and life. This one is just pleasure. You see the difference? The other one has two, pleasure
Yes,
and new
it
life.
is, as long as
The
it
other
is
one has
pleasure,
nothing.
it is not use, but it is not useless. As long as it's serving a certain purpose, it's not useless. People are having pleasure. It is not useless. So I've not bashed gay, as you say.
Yes. So Morioki is trying to discount this aspect of pleasure, but let's hear from ex-Pastor Stano, Deve, and still me in that order.
My first question is to Morioki. Do you enjoy food or you eat to survive?
Both. I can eat to survive or I can enjoy food. I have a choice. Because most good foods are tasteless. Like ngwashe and doma, they have no taste. Yeah.
So, but sometimes you eat to enjoy.
Yes.
Okay, good. Even the one we are talking about, we do it to enjoy. So for pressure. So about for the kids, that is the minor. But the most important is for enjoyment, for pressure.
No, that's your view, Stano. That's your view, eh? That's your view.
Yeah, and that is what, but for, do you want to procreate for you?
What?
Do you want to have a kid?
No, I don't. No.
So you are not for pressure and you are not after the kid.
Yeah, personally, yeah, that's me. Yeah.
So that is a very problematic. So for me, I will say we, because we are majority, we do for pressure, and for procreation, that is the less important. And even some of us, they don't like the procreation part. They only need for pressure purpose. For those people you are saying is useless, they also do for pressure. And whatever make you to get that happiness, why do somebody come to stop you? So just enjoy. If eating a certain food make you enjoy, do it. Yeah.
Stano.
So even for those straight. Yeah.
Stano, but most abortions come from pleasure seeking. Eh? Most abortions come from people seeking pleasure.
Yeah. It's like for example, you can go to in a game, or you can game for outing. You do your enjoyment, you play football, you play whatever, you are enjoying. But in the process, your leg come broke. Will you tell people to stop now playing or going for a hike because they can get some problem?
Stano, but these are life.
They can get injured. The same case here. When you make a mistake or when a mess comes, you just try to handle it. It's like just driving a car and an accident have come. You accept it and you try how to solve that problem. And if it's beyond,
Stano,
nothing we can do about it.
But Stano, sex is meant for that. This is not like an injury in a marriage. Sex is meant for that. You're having sex, sperm,
I think
egg,
I think that
egg,
that is enough now. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No, Morioki. Thank you, Stano. Thank you, Stano. No, Morioki. There's no book that has written somewhere sex is meant for reproduction. There's no book. That is your personal opinion. That is, and it's a very unrealistic one. Anyway, next is Ndeve. Let's see whether we can convince Morioki about the purpose of.
I was going to say the same thing, that I would actually like to ask Morioki directly, where did you get this idea that it's kind of Puritan? I don't know which church you are into. Me, I was indoctrinated in Catholicism and born again. That's why I was indoctrinated. But when I left na hiyo mizigo nikawachia. So that's why they are struggling. Anyway, I don't know where you got that. That's a very Puritan idea. And I can just tell you, Muriuki, here, without batting an eyelid, that your parents didn't even buy that. Well, you're buying that, and your parents did not buy that. That's why they were locking the door and tell everybody waende wakacheze. So it is pleasure, and then the children, and then the children come in. And some people are even surprised when the children come in. So that's why the sex education is supposed to be a very important thing. And as far as pleasure is concerned, it's not just that we do for pleasure. We've got music and we've got dance. We read novels. There's so many things that we do for pleasure than we do even to make a living. So I really want to understand where you got this from and at what age you got this, and why are you keeping it? Because it's not practical, and it's not even realistic, and it's neither here nor there. It's not something like you have got 50-year-olds or 40-year-olds or people even old like myself. We're not making any children, but that's not stopping us. So I don't know where you're coming from with this kind of thing. I'm just trying to tell you, as a person that's not going to make any children. So yeah, just let us know. Tell us where you get this idea from. Thank you.
I wish Morioki you could try once to have a ngao somewhere, and you'll never stop it.
Yeah, that's the danger I see. That's the danger now. I'll get babies all over the place. I'll have so many babies which I can't take care of. See, that's already a sign of danger. Okay, anyway, Ndeve, because saying when I see
contraceptives, my Morioki, you'll have contraceptives, and then if you don't want the child, you'll tell the girl and she will abort. What's the issue?
Yeah, I'm against abortion. I'm against abortion, and maestro. I don't want abortion. Let's have a plan. Then why kill the kid? Why kill the fetus? Why destroy a life? Since you know what you're doing.
So
you know what you are doing.
So if you find yourself in that situation, maybe if you find yourself in that situation, would you rather tell that girl to just have the kid? You'll raise the kid than just tell her to abort.
Yes. Yeah, maybe I'll take her to I'll have the kid. I'll take it to a children's home or something, or adoption. But I can't kill. I won't kill it.
Okay.
How about prevention then? Prevention is better than cure. You have the necessary contraceptive, the necessary methods of contraception.
Yes, Morioki, why don't you get a vasectomy?
Yeah.
Why don't you? Yeah, get your tubes tied.
South of the border, cancelectomy. It's very easy.
Nip, slip.
That's going against nature, Dorcas. That's going against nature. Why? Going against nature. That's man-made.
What do you mean going against nature? Well, don't you take malaria queen when you have malaria? That's against nature. Malaria queen is not nature.
I'm sick. When is that sickness? That's sickness now. We're talking about sex. Is sex a sickness? Sex is not sickness. Sex is not sickness.
Your thinking is so skewed. You are anti-pleasure. You are anti-nature. I mean, anti-synthetic. You're anti-everything.
Malaria is a sickness, man. We're talking about sex, not a sickness. Sex is not malaria. Malaria is a sickness. Big difference. Malaria is a sickness.
Still me. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I just pressed the button by mistake. Morioki, I am sorry to ask you this. And it's a very personal question, and you can choose not to answer. But since you're anti-pleasure, do you want to mean that you have not experienced sex?
That's very personal. You're right. I won't answer. It's personal.
Okay. If you have experienced sex, each and every single time you've had sex, has it been for procreation?
It's meant for that. Still me. I know it's meant for that.
No.
That's all I know.
It's meant
That's
for
why
that.
I came here.
But
That's
every time you
That's why we are
had
here.
it. No, I'm asking if you say it's meant for that, but do you live by that it's meant for that?
That's how I live here. I'll be very careful when I do it. I'll be very, very careful. There'll be no regrets, no mistakes. I'll be very careful.
Okay, so you want to mean that sex is only meant for procreation, right?
Yeah. When our human beings, we are advanced, so we make it pleasure because we are advanced. We're very advanced.
Could you cite in nature, because you've said human beings are advanced, we've turned it into something else. Could you cite in nature or any study that has shown that animals in nature only have sex for procreation?
My answer is most of them. I use the word most.
No,
most
I
of them.
would like you to cite somewhere, cite a study, because we are skeptics here and we will go by the facts, not opinion. As if I'm stating an opinion, I stand to be corrected. Your opinion is that sex is meant for procreation. So give us the facts now, not your opinion, because your opinion is sex is meant for procreation. Could you give us somewhere a legit site, not someone who's as anti-pleasure as you, someone else who did a study, like in nature, animals only have sex for procreation.
What if answer? Yeah, can I answer? Can I answer now? Let me answer. If answer, if you go to a national park, the animals, they're all there because of sex. Is that fact? We have animals because they're all there: crocodiles, lions, buffaloes, wildebeest. They are all there because of sex. Period.
But is it that every time animals have sex, it is for procreation? This is the same problem we have with all of you in the group. You people do not answer the question that has been put in front of you. You just find a way to weasel your way around the question. You meander somewhere around the question, end up quote unquote answering it, but not clearly answering it. My question is there a study that has been done that animals only have sex for procreation?
Okay, yeah, I'll say okay, no. I'll say no. But I give a fact. I give a fact. I give evidence, but no. But no, I've given evidence of a national park.
Your evidence is animals exist because of procreation. We all exist because of procreation.
Yeah, that's on point. You're on point there.
So does it mean that each and every time sex must have happened, procreation took place in the animal kingdom, not now in the human world?
Okay. At times it don't happen. At times it might fail. At times there could be a failure. Now that needs research. That needs serious research. But they are there because of sex. That's a fact. They are there because of sex. All of them. Lions are there because of sex. Period.
Morioki, I give up because you're not answering my question. You're just meandering around the question. I choose to stand up because you are very good at what you're doing.
Thank you, Stillman. Thank you, Stillman. Morioki is insufferable. We do this dance each and every time. We can't finish 2 weeks before Morioki peddles his propaganda that sex is meant for procreation. Sex is meant to give life. So if you engage in sex and you're not giving life, then you are wasting time and resources and energy. That is so convoluted, Morioki.
That Dorcas, I'm trying to imagine that situation of Morioki. For example, I have only 2 kids. Imagine that just having twice, and then say it's over for those many years. That drive can be very boring.
You're married to your wife for 40 years, and for those 40 years, you just have sex 2 times.
Okay, Doctors, he's married, he's safe, he's married. I'm talking about this. We're talking about abortion here. Abortion, Stano is safe. He has a wife. He's established. We are talking about abortion coming from sex. Guys have sex and destroy babies. This is about abortion.
Yeah, on that point, Morioki. On that point,
abortion.
Morioki, on that point, we have seen it sometimes it can fail. Do you think I cannot undergo that process if it fail? I will, because I'm not ready
to have an additional child. He has planned for 2. So if there's a 3rd, a 4th, or a 5th one, that is not welcome. He does not have a problem with abortion. You are the one who has a problem with abortion. You are the one with the. But Still Me has a question. Hold on. Still Me has a question for you.
Morioki, where did you learn the art of avoiding the question? Please.
No, how did I avoid? She answered you. She answered surely. I answered you. Animals are there because of sex. She answered fairly. I answered you. Animals are there because of sex.
Okay, so we're not going back to that question. I just need a direction, because that art, I will clearly need it in this life, because you perfected it so much. I'm in awe at how well you can do this. Okay, I think. But my actual question is this: you believe that we are all here because of sex. You are anti-pleasure. So does that mean you're against men having wet dreams and you're against women having periods? Because when women have their periods, an egg is lost. So by your standards, is that a potential life that was lost? When men have wet dreams, is that a potential life that is lost? Yes, that was my question.
I'll answer. You see, wet dreams are natural. It happens by itself. That's nature taking its course. That's nature, not you. They happen by themselves. It's beyond your control. That's nature. That's nature taking its course. You get that's nature staying at the.
But Morioki, even sex is nature also. Even sex is nature. You have this very narrow definition of what nature is, and you have a puritanical attitude towards doing only natural things in your very narrow definition of it, because sex is natural. And even if you say that all of us are here because of sex, it doesn't mean that every time every person, every couple, every heterosexual couple has sex, they have children, that they get pregnant. That's not the case. There are safe days when they don't get pregnant. There are those who have long-acting or permanent contraceptives in them. They've done the vasectomy, they've done the tubal ligation. They will never get pregnant.
Okay,
so the outcome which you want to avoid, which is unplanned pregnancy, will be avoided. Yeah, and then they don't have a problem with your so-called natural. You don't want any unnatural methods. Then these other people don't have a problem with it. It's not a sin to them. So that's your prerogative. You in your narrow world, you continue living that way, but don't impose that perspective on the rest of humanity. It is
Doctor, very... one question. Doctor, just one question to Still Me. Please, one question. Still me, one question. Are wet dreams are wet dreams and periods planned? Are wet dreams and periods planned? They happen naturally? Question.
Actually, I can plan my periods. Synthetically, yes. Plan my periods. If I'm on birth control and I choose not to have a period, there is birth control that can make you not experience the shedding of the uterus lining. So yes, I can choose not to have a period. I don't know about wet dreams. I'm not a man. I cannot speak on that.
For me as a man, wet dreams, they happen themselves. They happen. You just find they happen themselves. I have no control. They happen by themselves. I don't plan. It just happen.
Morioki, this is irrelevant. The natural aspect is irrelevant to the discussion. It's irrelevant to the discussion. You might have a problem with things being natural, and even that natural. I dispute your definition of what is natural, because sex is natural.
Wet dreams. No, wet dreams. Wet dreams, Dorcas. Wet dreams. I mentioned wet dreams.
No, it's irrelevant. In my book, that aspect, the aspect of wet dreams is relevant. What you are saying is, you're saying you don't want an unplanned pregnancy. That is the outcome. We are giving you a solution. We are saying, if you don't want an unplanned pregnancy, you can have a vasectomy. But you are saying that is unnatural. Now, that closes the conversation, because you, as Morioki, you have a very unique perspective on being anti-natural. No, you don't want anything unnatural. That now closes the conversation, because it doesn't make use of modern technologies. Modern technologies have enabled us to live a better life where we can avoid outcomes which we don't want. If we don't want unplanned pregnancies, we can use modern technology to help us. But if you have a problem with it, stay by yourself. Live your life. It's okay. You can be celibate. It's okay. But other people don't have a problem with doing things that are synthetic, using synthetic technologies. They don't have a problem. So don't go around imposing your worldview on the rest of us. That's you. That's you. It's unrealistic, and it's just Morioki the saint. But for the rest of us, we will use the technology when it's there.
At least for me, no abortion, Dorcas. For me, no abortions for sure. No abortions
we'll
never.
We'll get to anti-abortion. We'll get to anti-abortion arguments shortly. Don't worry. You'll express yourself clearly. Ex-Pastor Tano, your hand is up.
So for me, I think the still me have answered Morioki, but I also answer about the wet dream. I can be able to control it by just having sex. So when I have a sex, that sperm will not come as in a dream, because I have already fulfilled it. We normally have a wet dream because we have stayed maybe for a long time without doing that, and maybe we are eating food that stimulate those things. So that is how you can solve it. About what you are talking about, the natural things, to obey the natural. I will just say everything that we do today, according to my understanding of natural, is unnatural. Even having a phone, the evolution, they did not shape us with a phone. Even the food that we are eating, even including the maize, we have just modified them to be the way they are. So even the maize that we are eating, the one you are trying to say you cannot eat meat, you eat maize, is also unnatural. If it's for natural, you should try to look the natural maize instead of this maize that we have already modified them. Among other, even we are using the mean of transport is unnatural according to my definition. We used to go by foot. Today we are driving. Even type of clothes we have already also changed. So that definition of natural, we can also use the same argument against you. So we are doing this thing, we are creating technology is coming to give us more happiness in our life, and to wish our work or the work that we are doing, we want to make it easier, to make work easier by coming up with the technology and also coming up with many things to entertain us. So initially you could stay alone or getting a story from your grandmother or grandfather. Today, you can get the story from movie and the other things. You can also have a music. Instead of somebody singing for you, you can listen to a phone and get that pressure. So we are creating our own pressure, which you may term it as unnatural. So don't try to stop the technology or the thing that we are coming up with to make our life more easier and more happier. Thank you.
Dorcas, 30 seconds. Dorcas, please, just 30 seconds only. Can you answer him? 30 seconds.
Proceed.
Okay. Stano, I hear what you're saying there, but here we're talking about a life being destroyed, abortion. People are having sex, they can't afford these things you're saying. They can't afford. So they're having sex and you destroy a life in its process. This is not phone or TV or whatever you're saying. This is a life being destroyed.
But what? I understand. But what you are saying, you are trying to say we should stop having sex because it might resort to a child or to a fetus, which we might destroy the life. So your solution is to stop doing those things if you are not comfortable of having a child.
Do it with a plan, please. Have a plan for it. That's a life. That's
for
a
example,
life you're destroying.
For me, I have ever caused an accident. Do you think I have not? I was not planning to drive carefully. I was not keen in my driving. I was keen, but someone come randomly in a black spot and I hit. We cause accident. So we all plan. We normally plan, but things can happen accidentally. You can have a baby, or you can impregnate somebody accidentally, even if you have already planned. So
accidentally how?
Yeah,
sex,
and for
sex
those
accidentally how sex is egg and sperm accident.
Dorcas have already explained to you.
Yes, I told you how
Dorcas has already explained to you.
The condom can tear. I don't know if Sanu, you are done. Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
I see. Okay, thank you. Stillman, still me. You are next.
I just wanted to thank ex-pastor Stano because I wanted to push Murioki into this corner of telling us that men can. I knew the answer, but I wanted it to come from him, of that, the fact that if a man has coitus regularly and like releases sperm, he will not have to experience wet dreams. So thanks, Dano. Also,
what if you don't? What if you don't steal me? What if you don't? It'll happen naturally. It'll happen by nature. It'll take its course. It'll happen naturally, whether you like it or not. It'll still happen. That's what I mean. It'll still happen.
Murioki, I wanted to ask you this. So you're saying that every instance of sex should be a plan to have a baby, right?
Yeah, it will be there. But if you're married, you can play around. If you're married, you can play around. But outside in the real world, be careful.
Backtracking. Murioki, stop backtracking. I wish I could.
Sorry, still me. Murioki. Okay, sorry, I will interfere. Yes. Murioki, do you want to say it's unnatural to have sex, but when you marry, you can be allowed now to do things that you think is unnatural?
At least there's a safe space there. That's a safe space.
Murioki,
no, it's please. Not a safe.
Murioki, please. Should we have sex?
Murioki, you cannot have it both ways. You cannot say that sex is unnatural when someone is not pregnant, but when someone is not married, but when they are married, it now becomes natural. You can't have it both ways.
Now. Okay,
no, that doesn't make it unnatural.
You know, sex is natural, Dorcas. Sex is natural.
So sex is natural, whether I am married or not, whether I have sex with a boyfriend, someone I met, somebody I met at a hangout somewhere, or whether I have it with husband, it's natural. So that you have said it with your own mouth to my Koshika. We've got you. You've said it with
No,
your
you
own mouth.
haven't.
Sex is natural.
Condoms.
You've
Okay.
said it. You've said sex is natural.
Yeah, it is. But now condoms, these contraceptives, vasectomy, now those things, condoms are not natural. That's man-made. Vasectomy
What,
is
to
man-made.
clarify,
No, you're running
Contraceptives
away.
is
You're
man-made.
running away from the matter. Stop
No,
running
I'm
away
saying
from the matter. The matter is sex natural or unnatural?
it is
You
natural. It's natural.
yourself,
It is natural.
it is natural.
It's natural.
It is natural.
Yes, yes.
So why? So what is the problem that you're having with somebody having
Condom,
sex?
vasectomy, this vasectomy, contraceptive, that's not man-made. That's man-made. That's man-made.
There are natural ways to induce an abortion. There are herbs. Yes, we do not go by the Christian Bible, but I was raised Christian, so I will go back to it. But even the Christian Bible gives a guideline on how to perform an abortion. So if we're going by natural things only, I can naturally, with herbs that occur in nature, induce a natural abortion. So what is unnatural about me taking certain herbs that will induce an abortion?
Still, my point is that having sex and destroying the product, get that? Having sex, then you destroy that sex
Point
product.
was on the unnaturality of it. Your point was on the fact that it is not given by nature, which you have just stated that sex is natural. So
It is true.
if I
Definitely.
can find a way to use a natural abortion, does it fit into your idea of nature? If I go into nature, look for something that will cause a natural abortion, will that stand right by you?
I'm against having sex naturally and killing the product. You have sex which is natural and you kill the product. That's
But
the problem.
the abortion will be
Why
natural at
kill the
this
product?
point.
Why kill the product?
Okay,
Why
let
kill
me
the product? Why kill it?
Okay, if my body spontaneously decides it does not want to continue with this pregnancy, and I have a spontaneous abortion, which in layman's terms is known as a miscarriage, is that also against your stand?
No, miscarriage is an accident, and now that's an accident. Miscarriage is different. That's an accident. Something goes wrong somewhere, right?
You know what, still me.
Miscarriage
This guy, this guy is you're tap dancing. He's tap dancing because wait, Morioki. 1 minute you are saying the problem with having sex is unnatural. Then you say sex is natural.
Sex is natural,
and then,
sex is natural. Sex is natural. Sex is natural.
You are comparing it. You are comparing it with wet dreams, and you are saying that wet dreams are natural. Sex is not. Sex, you go for it. You make that conscious decision.
Okay, animals have sex. Animals have sex. Animals have sex, Doctor. He said animals have sex. Lions have sex. It's natural. Lions, cats, dogs, they have sex.
Morioki, you have backpedaled. You have backpedaled because ex-Pastor Kano brought out a different point when he said that he has sex whenever in his marriage, and you changed your perspective. You are like, their sex is okay because all of a sudden it is in a marital context.
Yes.
Yeah, which is according to you, which is erroneous, because to him it's not a safe space. If he's planned to have 2 children and his wife gets pregnant at that time, he's going to procure an abortion. That is
on that, there is something that Morioki saying. We should not use the contraceptive. So if it's okay for me to have sex with my wife, even if I'm not procreating, so, and I should not use those, it means I will be getting those pregnancies every time. Do you think it's safe?
Yeah, Stano, I hear you. I'll be honest. Now, in a marriage, I'm worried about outside guys. These kids, we are having so many kids. Even though we go to our children's home, guys have sex is not planned.
No, Morioki, you are running away.
Children.
You are running
I'm
away.
asking this question.
Okay,
I'm
being
asking
honest,
this question, Morioki. Listen,
yeah.
You have saying I'm allowed to have many times as possible, but it's not going to use prevention. So, do you want me to get 20 kids?
No.
To bring them into children home?
No.
So you see,
then
the
how do I do?
contraceptives. He has to use contraceptives, Morioki. You cannot run away from them, even if you get married.
But Dorcas,
you can't.
It's about abortion today. I'm talking about abortion. Avoiding abortion. That's the topic.
Yes,
abortion.
Abortions happen in marriages. They still happen in marriages because of the contraceptive issue. Okay? They still happen. So that's why we had to debunk that idea that you have that sex is meant for something. Sex is only meant for bringing children into the world. It's not. Even in marriages, it is done for pleasure. Even in marriages, it is done for pleasure. And given the fact that there is a risk of having a pregnancy, they can use contraceptives to alleviate that risk. So you don't want us to embrace these modern solutions. And we don't agree with you. There you are a lone ranger. You are swimming in your own ocean alone. El Maestro, you had something to add?
Muruki, today he has made my night. He has really made my night. So, Muruki, you said that if now people are married, you are now okay with them, they can have sex. So tell me what is the difference between two people who are married? This the man is earning maybe let's say 30,000. The woman is okay. The woman is jobless, but they are married. Then there's another man who is maybe he's a son of a big a person who is a millionaire. He's not married. So this person, between this person who is the son of a millionaire but he's not married, and this guy who is he's married but he's earning maybe a salary of 30K, who do you think if they have sex and both get a child, whose child do you think will be more catered for?
The guy with money.
If they're
the one with more money, the person who has more money has an advantage.
Why do you think? Why are you saying that people should only have sex if they are married? Yes, there are people who are married and they're struggling, and others are not married and they have money. So you can't say at marriage someone can have sex as long as they are married. Some are married and they're struggling, and if they bringing a child into this world, it will mean that they struggle even more. So Muruki, wait, I've not finished with my point. The second you talked about you've now even made me lose my train of thought. The second thing you said, okay, ask your question.
Obama had 2 kids. Remember, Barack Obama, he had 2 kids. Remember,
Elon Musk has 12 kids. Do you know that?
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying. Now you go to the slums, you find a woman having so many kids. You wonder what's going on here. She has so many kids.
Morioki,
she has no money.
Morioki, we would prevent those many kids if we allowed abortions. Legal and safe abortions. We would have prevented them.
Actually, Dorcas, thank you.
And also in the occasion.
Dorcas, actually, you reminded me of the question that I wanted to ask Muriuki. You reminded me of that question, the other question. Muruki, you are let me not say your age, but at least you are at an age where you can impregnate a woman. but
Yeah,
then you
true.
don't take the, and you are an antinatalist. Yes. So
For me only, only for me, not somebody else. For me only, for me only. Somebody else can have kids.
Let's call you child free. Let's say she's child free.
yes,
Yeah,
okay, you are
me.
child free. Yes, you are
Only
child
for
free.
me. That's personal.
And then
Personally for me only.
then okay. And then there's another, let's say another woman who she also wants to be child free, but maybe she has had 1 or 2 abortions. What's the difference between you two? What's the difference? Both of you don't want a child. What's the difference between you two?
She's killed 2 kids already. She's killed 2 kids already. She's
Sure.
off.
No, she's not
she
killed kids. We defined the terms. She has gotten rid of a pregnancy and a fetus. It's not a kid yet. It's not a kid. It's not a baby yet. It's
okay,
a
fine.
fetus.
Okay, true. Okay, fine.
Or rather,
Okay,
embryo.
true. Okay, I agree. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, you're destroying life in process. You're destroying life in process. That's a fact. Destroying life in process.
Okay. El Maestro, do you want to rebut or let's just leave it there?
Let me leave it there. I have no more questions about this. Let's just move on to the next.
Morioki can't be helped. Still me? Go next.
Oh my God, I've lost my train of thought. Morioki, has he left? Oh no, he's still here. Morioki, so let's get this straight. Sex is okay in marriage as many times as they would like, right?
Yeah, you're not a safe place there. Not a safe space. That's what I'm saying.
Please, let's stick to yes or no. Please, let me limit you to yes or no. So sex is okay in marriage as long as they're married.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens if I am married, or ex-Pastor Stano, I don't know if you're still here, but what happens if ex-Pastor Stano's wife happens to get a 4th or 3rd pregnancy and they had only planned for 2 kids? What's the course of action for a married person who ends up getting an unwanted pregnancy in marriage? Because you have said you are anti-contraceptives, so they are not using contraceptives, but you've said in marriage it's a free-for-all. What's the course of action?
If you have a kid you don't want, I'll ask you, when you had sex, what were you thinking? What did you expect?
Wait, but Muriuki, you just told me that as long as I am married, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Maybe it's my
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Okay. Now. Okay. Again. So, okay. Now you have 3. Okay. Now they have 2 kids. They have an extra kid. Now you see now.
Yes.
Okay. According to you, now they abort it. According to me, I'll still go. I'll be against abortion. I'll be against abortion.
My thoughts right now. We're going by what's the course of action according to you, not whatever I think.
Yeah. Since now you have the kid, bring it out. Give it for adoption or something, but don't destroy it. Don't destroy the life. That's my argument. Don't destroy the life. Don't destroy it.
In a few statements ago, you just said that you also hate the fact that we have so many kids in children's homes.
True. That's true.
So, if you hate the fact that we have kids in children's homes, but I am married, I get that kid and take it to a children's home, you'll still be mad at me. If I get an abortion, you'll still be mad at me, right?
Yes.
So either way, you're going to be pissed. If I take it to a children's home.
And even when you use the contraception, you'll be mad at you.
Thank you, ex-Pastor Stano. If I use contraceptives, you'll be mad at me, right? So either way, no matter what I do, you will be mad. So let people have abortions in peace. Let people use contraceptives in peace. Let people have sex for pleasure in peace. Because either way, no matter what we do, we will make Morioki mad.
Thank you. Thank you, still me. Thank you. You have shown us how it is impossible to please Morioki in this day and age. He lives in his own little cocoon, and we cannot help him. I will not continue indulging in that train of thought. I'm going to go back to the question that we were answering previously, which is, what are your arguments for abortion? And I wanted to add this philosophical aspect. I think it's very crucial. It is the aspect of personhood. Okay, so just to be clear, I am pro-abortion. I believe in women's right to choose. Obviously, you could deduce that from the earlier segments, but I just had to clarify. And there's this aspect of personhood, because there are people who call abortion murder. You know, they use that emotive language, murder. It's not murder. Abortion is not murder. Murder is the willful taking of a human life. Whatever is in a pregnant woman's body is not yet a human. It is a potential human. It is not yet a person. It is a potential person. And in fact, I remember earlier this week, we were arguing about what is a human, what is a person, and whether an abortion is the same as murder. They are not. They are very distinct items. Will an abortion terminate a life? Yes, it will. A fetus is indeed a life. Yes, I agree. It will terminate a life. But will it terminate the life of a human or terminate the life of a person? No, it will not. And this is why I have to get a little philosophical here. A fetus, an embryo or a zygote is not a person. What determines personhood? What we have to answer that question in this discussion. What determines personhood? Personhood, actually, if I can even define it, personhood is the status of being a person, and it determines the privileges, rights, responsibilities, and protections under the law. If you're not yet a person, you don't have protections and rights under the law. So when we say that we have terminated your existence as a fetus, you do not have protections under the law if we understand that you are not a person yet. Now, the million-dollar question is, what determines personhood? There are various perspectives on this. The Christian perspective is that a person becomes, you become a person at conception, the moment the sperm and ovum fuse together. But I disagree with that perspective, because I believe that it's just a single-celled organism, or those are just a couple of cells. Those are actually two cells that have come together. So it isn't a person yet, definitely. Then there are some Muslims or other quarters who think that you become a person at the 4th week, because you have a heartbeat from the 4th week and you have a soul. They believe in the notion of a soul. So obviously, I am a naturalist and a skeptic. I don't believe in the notion of a soul or a heart, so I don't agree with that perspective. Then there's the third perspective, which says you become a person when you start to perceive pain. You have a fully developed nervous system, and usually that happens after the 2nd trimester, around the 24th week. In fact, many countries that legalize abortion, like in the UK, they allow abortions up to the 24th week. After the 24th week, they don't, because of this aspect of pain perception. But now, that aspect of pain perception, I can now ask this person, if your problem is pain perception, what if we sedated the fetus? What if we sedated it before we abort it? It will not perceive the pain. You'll have eradicated the problem. The 4th idea is when someone is viable, when the entity we are considering is viable and can exist independently outside the mother's body. And that usually, again, starts happening from the 24th week onward, the third trimester, where it can be put in an incubator and it can continue to survive on its own. But now the question is, usually, if you remove that fetus and put it in the incubator, whose responsibility will it be to take care of that child afterwards? We don't have that guarantee that its fate will be determined after you put it in the incubator if the parent is not willing to take up the child. Then the fourth understanding of personhood is that a person is somebody who has come out of the mother's womb and they are able to live independently, at least physically. Their body is not dependent on someone else. This is the reason why our birth certificates have that day we came out of our mother's womb. That is the date of birth. It's not the day when the sperm and ovum came together, or when you got a heartbeat, or when you had a fully developed nervous system. No, it is usually at that point when you have come out of the mother's body. And there's this analogy that a lady called Judith gave, a philosopher. She said, imagine that that Judith is for autonomy, which still needs to talk about body autonomy. The analogy I would give is, imagine there's a burning house and you have 5 zygotes that are frozen, maybe from IVF, and then you also have a baby, a fully formed, a born baby. As we said, a baby is a person that has come out of their mother's womb and they are breathing, they are existing independently of the mother's body. So if a house is burning, would I go and save the 5 cans of zygotes or embryos, or would I go and save the baby? It's clear I would definitely save the baby. So that is an insinuation that this person understands that the baby is different from anything in the womb. Okay? Anything in the womb. So when I have to decide between the right of the mother to decide, to choose what she wants to do with her body, because it is her body that is sustaining this life, she can choose not to sustain that life. If I have to choose between that or between the right of this fetus to exist, I would give the mother precedence, because she is a person. Whatever is in her womb is not a person yet. It doesn't have privileges and rights that a real human has. That aspect of personhood, that status of being a person, is to me very fundamental in this debate of abortion. And I believe that we conflate issues when we say she's committing murder or she's getting rid of a baby. No, it is not a baby yet. It is a potential person. It is not a person. So I'm not murdering a human being. I'm not murdering a person. I am terminating a pregnancy. Every woman should have the right to terminate. So that's an argument I wanted to bring out.
Dorcas?
Yes.
I have another, but this, you are going to speak. I have just a clarification on a question. I impregnate a girl, but I want that child. But the girl does not want the child. She want to abort. Is that okay? And in the same case, maybe I'm impregnating the girl. She wants that baby, but I don't want that baby. So I want her to abort, but that's not right. What about that? So we will think about that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Stano has asked us a very, very controversial question. Please let's answer it as we proceed. Yes, Azrael.
First of all, good evening, everybody. Dorcas, I wanted to address some of the point that you raised. I'm not exactly against the pro-choice. I myself, I'm a pro-choice person, right? But the arguments that you made up, I think they're a bit redundant. So let me address the first one that you raised up, the building on fire question. Okay. So I'm not sure if this was a point per se, but what you made your analogy was that there were a building, right? And within that building, there were like let's see, a canister of zygotes stored somewhere in the building, then also a baby inside that building. And you made a choice that if it were up to you, you will go in and save the baby and leave the zygotes because the baby was a person, right? And therefore, by you choosing the baby, it means that for some reason, the zygotes were not people. Like they were not exactly, they didn't have personhood. So I will flip this then see that, Dorcas, I don't know you personally, all right? But if there was a building and you were in the building and my mother was in the building, I will save my mother and bring her out. I will not save you. Does that mean that I'm trying to say that you, Dorcas, are not a person? That because I have chosen my mother to save, therefore I have invalidated your personhood? That's the first question. If I apply that to the zygote baby scenario and answer me that question. I also go to the second analogy that you made about the legal rights and freedoms, this thing. I want to say that, Dorcas, legalities are not, just because something is legal does not mean that it is okay, right, and then because something is illegal doesn't make it wrong. For example, a very long time ago, I'll say just about 300 years past, there's a group of people in the United States who did not have rights, right? So that was written in law. They did not have rights. I think because that they did not have legal right to certain freedoms, therefore they were not people. Because so far as I'm concerned, rights are not a prerequisite of somebody being a person or not, or having value or not. That's from my perspective. You could be a person and you will not have rights to certain things due to certain scenarios or certain situations, but just because those rights are not afforded to you, does not invalidate your existence. All right. And I want to repeat it again. I am not a pro-life person. I'm just trying to make you understand that the argument that you brought up were not exactly the right ones to have used. From what I know, let me finish them. The human development is a cycle, right? It starts somewhere, ends somewhere, then continues all over again, right? How one stage of the cycle has value over another stage of the cycle is a subjective matter, right? It's an individual subjective matter. So just because someone is a zygote does not mean that by objective standard, a zygote is less valuable than that of, let's say, a teenager, right? There's no objective standard that we place value on either one stage or another. It's all subjective. That is why some people will say that, okay, for the moment of conception, some will say for the moment of implantation, some will say whatever stage that they place value on is where they draw the line, right? Me personally, I see value in all of those stages. right? However, I am pro-choice because abortion is convenient to me, not because it is any moral value or like whatever other standard that some people may make. I like the abortion being available to women because it allows me the option to opt out of fatherhood, to not be attached or saddled with some squealing, mewling, wailing thing that I don't want to have anything to do with. Right. That's my personal point of view where abortion is concerned. I don't, so far as it is there, I'm happy because it's because I'm adopting to not be a father. That is good. So that was my point I wanted to make out. So the question that I asked. So I think I'll address Tanu's question later on. Thank you.
Okay, I'll respond to your rebuttals after Still Me. Please go ahead, Still Me.
Oh, sorry, my mic wasn't working for a moment there. What's your name? Azriel. So Azriel, you just made the comment that if your mother and another stranger was in a burning building, of course you'd pick your mother. And that doesn't take away from the personhood of the other stranger. But in this instance, we're not talking about two fully developed kids or fully developed fetuses. We're talking about an undeveloped one and a developed one. Because the baby, no matter the age, is a fully developed fetus. I guess that's the point Dorcas was trying to put across. That if you are given the choice between
yes,
an undeveloped zygote and a fully developed one, most people will opt for the developed one. What other point did you put across?
Yes,
I commend your honesty.
Maybe if you heard me later. Please, okay, I just want to address this one, right? So, later on when I was speaking, I made the point that people place different values on different stages of their life cycle. Stages, even with that scramble, no, there are, I would say that there are an hierarchy of value that they place upon it. So one stage might have a much more important value than the other. That was I was trying to make, right? That was my point, basically. So just the reason why people or most people would choose to save the baby other than the zygote is because of the value that they have placed upon that child. It's not because the child has a much more objective value than the zygote. It's a subjective value as an individual case to case that people personal point of view that they have. However, supposing that the owner or let's say the one who those zygotes belongs to was also there, right, themselves, and that baby in the building was not theirs, it's not their child, but the zygotes were there. I assure you that most people will choose to go and save their zygotes over some strange baby elsewhere. So that was my point, that people place different value on different things. So just because, like, I hope you get my point.
Yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from. The other point was on, oh my God, I've lost my train of thought. Can we circle back to that, please?
I think it was the legal rights.
The second question he asked is that legality does not connote the value that somebody or something has, because things can be legal, but it doesn't mean, or things may not be legal, but it doesn't mean that they are moral or they are right, in other words.
Thank you so much. On that point, I wanted to say that's why we come back to the point of autonomy. just because a current example, something that's currently happening right now, just because the ladies in a country like Afghanistan do not have some rights, does not take away from their personhood. Like, just because legally they do not have these rights, that doesn't take away from their personhood. But what takes away from the zygote or fetus's personhood is it's not a person. It's a zygote, it's a fetus. That's why we have names for it. That's if I say, look at that person. If you're in the skeptics WhatsApp group, someone posted an image of the fetus of a dolphin. That, yes, it's a mammal, and that's why scientifically or to the untrained eye, it looks like a human baby. That's the reason why a fetus, okay, personally, I will not consider a fetus a person, is because, for one, most people will not be able to differentiate it from something else. So yes, to view it as just because it doesn't have laws regarding it, it's not a person, is a bit skewed, but it still works. Because if we say just because it doesn't have rules, it's not a person, does that mean if a pregnant woman commits a crime, imprisoning the fetus inside her is wrong? Because you're wrongfully imprisoning a person. Because if it's inside her and it has laws, the law is you cannot imprison a person, right? Like, wrongfully imprison a person. So the loophole comes into it, like, it's a person that's inside her. Does that mean if you imprison the kid, she's pregnant, you cannot, maybe the fetus is not viable, so you cannot take out the fetus from her and leave her and the fetus like goes home? So does that mean for the length of time she'll be pregnant, you have wrongfully imprisoned a human?
You see,
For the
you
pro-abortionist.
see, I think you've constantly used a certain word, right? That Dorcas was even asking about a question about what makes somebody a person. What exactly makes them a person, right? So, by your own words, the reason why these zygotes do not have rights is because the law does not recognize them as a person. Although whatever that word person means is very obtuse and very vague. We don't know what a person is supposed to look like, or what it's supposed to be, or what qualifies something as being a person, right? However, person or people have rights, and that's why zygotes do not have rights, because the law does not recognize them as people. However, as you said, with the thing with ourselves in Afghanistan, right? They do not have certain rights afforded to them because the laws over there does not recognize them as having, like, let's say, rather the ability, or let's say they are not viable, or they're not important, or have value enough to have those rights. They are not people, or at least they are subhumans so far as the Taliban laws are concerned. Okay, so I think because the laws over there does not recognize them as, let's say, fully human, as men, therefore they are subhuman. Like, I don't understand. You keep using the word person, but like I said, the word person is really, really subjective. It is, you can't really have an objective standard, or an objective qualification for that word. So because somebody does not have rights, that doesn't mean that they're not people.
A minute, please?
Yes.
I said, just because the laws take away from their personhood, that does not mean they are not people. Just because the laws in them, that takes, it does not take away the fact that we will still view them as people. If I pass a law, if a law was passed today that fully allows abortion to happen, people are not going to be up in arms saying you're killing people. people who are pro-abortion, that is, are not going to be up in arms saying you're killing people. But if a law is passed today,
but those who are pro-life will be up in arms. You know that.
They will be up in
Those
arms,
who are
but the
pro-life will
terms
be up in arms.
will be kids,
Right.
life, terms Murioki uses like life. You're taking away a life. I don't think Murioki has once said you're killing a person. The main argument pro-life people, are they pro-lifers? Yes, pro-lifers have is that you're taking away a potential life. Because until birth, we are not sure if this person is coming, this fetus is going to be human or not. So just because the laws prevent them from doing some types of things, that does not take away from their personhood. If I pass a law today that says men should not do such and such a thing, that takes nothing away from their personhood. They are still considered people. But if I pass a law today that says anyone who finds out they're pregnant before 6 weeks can go to the hospital and abort it, no one's going to be up in arms saying you're killing a person. They're going to be up in arms saying you're taking away a potential life, you're taking away a life. That's life. The main point pro-lifers have is life, not personhood, if you can get that.
Yes, I do get it. But see, see, earlier on when you were speaking, right? You made the argument that just because they do not have a right doesn't mean that they're not person. That's when we're speaking about the Afghan ladies, right? But for some reason, you don't apply that logic to the zygotes. Like when it comes to the zygotes, you basically, I don't know, you basically simply dismiss that logic entirely. So like you're not really consistent with, if you're going by that logic, right? You're not really consistent in applying it across board. You apply to certain people, then you don't apply to certain things. I don't have an issue with that. But if you want to be logically consistent, you have to. If you don't, if you are not, my problem is the logical inconsistency that is going on here. That's my issue with this whole thought process.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Go on, I want to hear.
Thank you, Azrael. Still me has left the meeting. Let's proceed to Morioki, I believe, then Anthony.
Thanks, Lucas. I want to get Stanley's question. Like he said, if the woman is pregnant and wants to keep it, and the man doesn't, or if the woman is pregnant, if the man, vice versa. I think that's what Stano meant, vice versa. The woman wants, and at times the man wants, and the woman doesn't want, right? Yeah, it's for me. I think the law. There we have to go to the law or something. Now, the woman has all the power. The woman is on with all the power. She can decide to end it or not. So I think they have to go to court, Stano, because the woman has she can do what she wants, and the man won't even know. So I think they go to court and sort it out. So thanks.
Okay. That is Morioki's perspective. Next is Anthony.
Hi everyone. Okay, my take on abortion, I think, was on this ground. If it is a medical issue, I find there's no need of someone losing life together with the fetus or unborn child just because we are avoiding abortion or just because it is illegal or something like that. So I think I support abortion on medical ground. If the mother is at risk of losing her life, then I find there's no need of letting that true life go when we conceive one. That my take.
Okay. I'm trying to unmute myself, but I keep remuting. Okay, that is Anthony's take. He thinks that it should be done only when there is a risk to the mother. So I guess he's an anti-abortion person, and only under those strict conditions of when it is at risk. And I would like us to proceed because it seems like we get stuck so much on one argument. We got so stuck on Morioki's argument for such a long time, and now Azrael is threatening to make us get stuck on this one argument while we have so many discussion questions ahead. So let's start thinking about anti-abortion arguments. If you are not for abortion, you can rebut some of the anti-abortion arguments. People who oppose abortion, what reasons do they give? And do you think they are satisfactory reasons? Now, I wanted to respond to Azrael's question, which was with regard to the analogy I used. He said that if I was to choose between the 5 cans of zygotes vis-a-vis a baby, then if it was my zygote, I would go for the zygote rather than the baby. Or if he was choosing between his mother and me, and it was a burning building, he would go for his mother. And this is where I believe analogies fall short. Analogies don't tell the whole picture. The purpose of using an analogy is to bring out one element that those two ideas have in common. And the one element was on whether this person, whether this entity is a person or not. So when you start comparing two persons already, that is inconsequential. It is besides the point. The reason why I brought that analogy up is to show you that most people, of course, things might change if it was the IVF zygotes of someone who has been infertile for very long. She's been trying to get pregnant for very long, and finally the IVF has taken, and now she has 5 zygotes. And then there is a baby in the burning building, and the baby is not hers. So if the baby is not hers, her selfish instinct would be to save the zygotes, not because they are real persons yet, but because they are potential persons. They represent the potential, the future for her own selfish reasons. But looking at it objectively, assuming if you hold all other factors constant, assume that you don't know either of these entities. You don't know the zygotes are not yours, and you don't know the babies. The baby, it's one baby. The zygotes are many, but the baby is one. You don't know. You will definitely go for the baby because the baby is a person. They exist outside the mother's womb. They are conscious. They're not depending on the mother for survival. They are conscious. They have become a person according to that definition. So that's how I would respond to your objection. Then this issue of legality, you brought out the aspect of legality. And I think maybe you took it out of context because in my definition, I said personhood is the status of being a person. I know I'm using the word to describe the word. It is the status of being a person, being a full human, and it determines the privileges, responsibilities, rights, protections under the law. So I added "and" to it in terms of the rights that the person is entitled to. And the reason why I brought it up is because of the comparison to murder, the way people who are anti-abortion say that you are murdering someone. And I was like, it is not murdering someone because this is not a person yet. They are a potential person. The legality is neither here nor there. I think at the end of the day, it is what is the definition of personhood. And I agree with you that the definitions change depending on the context. So if it is Christians, they say it is conception. If it is the Muslims, they say it's when you have a heartbeat. For others, it is when the fetus is viable. But I was trying to make a case for going by the commonest definition, which is when you have left the womb. That is why our birth certificates indicate the date of birth, the day when you came out of your mother's womb, not the day when you developed a heartbeat. So we go with the commonest one, or the one that makes the most sense, instead of giving a brief to the Christians and their zygote one, because the zygote one doesn't make sense. They clearly, even them, when they were acting,
Sister
when they'd be
Dorcas.
acting let me finish. Even then, when they would be acting in that burning house, they would act differently. So it shows you the inconsistency in their perspective. Okay, now you can talk.
Thank you very much, sister. Okay, what you just did there was a fallacy called the appeal to common sense. Then you have this common sense is not exactly common. So earlier on, I want to address
Okay,
the first one with
continue talking.
your
Just make
answer to
all
the
your
burning
points.
building one.
Make all your points,
All right.
and then we go from
All
there.
right. Okay.
Azrael, sorry, one moment.
All right.
Azrael,
with the we both
one moment.
we both
Guys, I'd like to go off. I'm logging off, please. Just wanted to say bye. Thank you. You can go on, Azrael. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you
for having us. All right. So Dorcas, I was saying you just made a point earlier for me myself that the whole issue with this whole thing is the word person. What makes somebody person, right? And earlier on, I answered that it's a value system. So the value will differ from person to from. Hear me there again. From person to person, there's no objective standard. Not even the law can make that standard for what makes somebody a person, right? And therefore, what makes somebody let's say viable or available for certain rights and freedoms, right? That was my entire point. My whole point I was making was that the word person, or for somebody to be person, is a very subjective term. And therefore, you can't say that a zygote is not a person because it's not a fully developed human being. Then, therefore, that is the objective to truth. It is not. It is your personal opinion, and it can be contested because, as I said, there's no standard for what a person is supposed to be or look like. So when you make that position, that the reason why people, actually most people would choose the already born baby instead of the zygote because it's common sense. What I'm trying to say is not common sense. Yeah, because people are choosing it, doesn't matter. It is the correct thing to do. Anyway, that was basically my entire point. The person is subjective, so whether a zygote is as a person or not is, from your point of view, it's not an objective fact. Thank you.
I will agree with you that the definition of personhood is not universal. So given that the definition of personhood is not universal, then we shouldn't make laws which assume that personhood is universal. We should not ban abortion. We should give women the right to choose, to decide for themselves that definition of personhood. I think we can get to that conclusion at the end of the day. Now, guys, let's proceed.
Good.
Okay, let's proceed to arguments against abortions. And if you don't support abortion, I mean, if you support abortion, how would you respond to those arguments? Let's also remember, Stano asked us a question. He said, what if the lady wants a child, the man doesn't, he wants her to procure an abortion, or vice versa? How would we handle that scenario? Morioki answered it, but I haven't heard from the others. So let's remember that. But let's proceed to
Dorcas,
anti-abortion.
can I answer that question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Can I answer that question? All right.
Yes.
Personally, for me, since the baby is being grown by the mother's womb, and every physical consequence of the birthing will be on the mother, right? For me, the mother is one who will, I would say, should have the choice in deciding whether or not to go through the pregnancy or not, right? That's my choice. That's my perspective. However, I also understand the man's point of view, because I myself, I'm a man, so I understand that point of view. I don't know if this is there in Kenya, but it's here in Ghana that a man can, by law, sign away his rights to a child, to a baby, if he does not want to have anything to do with it. However, he should not, by signing his rights away, he cannot make any claim at a later date, unless with the permission or with the authority of the one who is now in a primary custody of the child, that is the mother, right? So if this was something that's happened worldwide, I'll be very much happy with it. Like a man will basically sign his rights away, right? So basically he will divorce himself from the entire conception altogether, then be separate from it. I think that should be very much allowed, so that the mother can just, if the mother wants the pregnancy and the man doesn't want it, that should be the way forward. Because he can't, I don't think you should be able to force the woman to do an abortion, or the woman should do an abortion just because the man doesn't want to be a father. If the woman wants to, if the woman wants to be a mother, the woman should go through with the pregnancy. However, I would be very much happy if there was a way for the man to basically divorce himself from the entire thing. So there's a way here in Ghana, so I'll also allow that. But I'm not sure if I know that it's also allowed in the US, but I'm not sure in different parts of Africa here. So that was my perspective.
Okay, maybe I can respond to your query. In Kenya, no, you cannot you cannot sign away your parental responsibilities as a man. In fact, in Kenya, the priority is the child's welfare. They always focus on the child, even if the man refused, their name did not appear in the child's birth certificate, they're really uninterested, they don't care. As long as it's your DNA in that child's body, the Kenyan law will compel you to provide child support. So in Kenya,
that's bad.
We don't have those protections. It's bad for the man, but it's good for the child.
That's bad. I mean, it is actually lawful here, but I don't know. I don't think many people know about it. That as in Ghana, here as in Ghana, you can sign away your rights as a parent. It is very much legal here in Ghana. But I'm not sure if, I don't think many people know that it is there in our constitution that you can actually do that. That's why many men are stuck with the case around there these days. Because if they knew, I'm sure that many men will do that. However, for that to also happen, right, the mother must also consent to it. So the mother must also sign it for that thing to also pass through. So, and I don't know many women who will be willing to let the man go scot-free like that.
Quick question, Azrael. Is abortion legal in Ghana?
It is legal in Ghana, but there are limits. There are certain thresholds over here. So I'm not exactly very much familiar with the codes, but it is legal. But it's a threshold that you cannot pass.
Okay. Sawa. Thank you as well. Let's hear from Morioki, then Anthony. Morioki.
Azrael, quick question. What if the mother wants out and the father insists he wants his kid? What happens? The mother wants out, but the father is saying, I want my kid. What happens then? That's right.
The father saying he wants his kid.
Yes, he wants his kid,
Okay.
yeah, but the mother wants out.
Earlier on, Moroki, what I told you earlier on was that for my opinion, I think about what is in our laws or my Moroki, I think about my opinion of what or the legal thing.
Okay, both legal and your opinion and also legal.
Okay, whatever the case may be, the mother decides, both the law and myself, the mother decides whether she wants to go through with the pregnancy or not. Because when it comes to the thing is her body, she'll be the one who will be going through all the labor pains, the changes to her bodies, the increase in the hormones, increase in the all her things. Is she'll be the one who will be going through it. So whilst it may affect you, the man, mentally, I'm not sure that your mental health trumps the lady's physical health. And I don't know which hospital or which place in Ghana would take the man's, I would say, discomfort over the lady's physical health. Right. So that's my point. Even if the man was one who wants a baby and the lady does not, the lady should be able to terminate that pregnancy. That's my opinion.
Okay. Moroki?
Okay. Yeah, let me answer. Okay, let me answer now. Just to even just Azrael, maybe having the kid might save her. Because I read somewhere abortion has dangers. There is bleeding of the cervix. It's called the cervix. Yeah, it bleeds, it gets cut, or it gets torn. Then I read somewhere that there are blood clots on the uterus because of abortion. Then also I read some what did I read? I read some what did I read? Yeah, there's also yeah.
I think I get your point. It's true that abortion can lead to certain physical or surgical consequences for the mother. However, in any good hospital, in any certified hospital that you are going to, any surgical operation done upon you, you will be informed of the consequences, the drawbacks of it before you go through it. The doctors will inform you of they will inform you of the negative that might occur if things go wrong. They will tell you of it. Then they give the choice to you whether you want to go through with it, whether you want to risk the consequences of it or not. Whether the case may be, the lady, after hearing all of these things, still should have the right to go through with it. If it goes well, good for her. If it does not go well and something happens to her and let's say to the extreme, she lose her life due to, let's say, abortions, abort surgery, that is also on her, because she chose to go through that. It's called consequence. She knew about it and she took it, and it didn't work for her. That is her case, her problem, her corpse. None of my problem. It shouldn't be yours too.
But so okay, yeah, like I read they get blood clots on the uterus, and it causes severe cramping. Yeah, so then also I read somewhere they get anxiety, depression, PTSD, eating disorders. They get long-term grief, suicidal thoughts, and also sexual dysfunction. So my point is that maybe having that kid is better off. Even the man might say that let's have the kid for your safety. That's my point. It might be better off just have the kid. Thanks.
Moriyoki.
Azrael, this is descending into an argument between you and Moriyoki. Raise your hand.
No. It's not exactly an argument, because I'm not really, I understand where it's coming from. So it's not exactly an argument. Basically, I just told him, right? I just gave him the thought advice. Like, when you go to a clinic, you are given this information of what might happen to you if you go through with any surgical operation. You are told by your doctors. Then the choice is there for you whether to go through with it or not. I just told them exactly like that. Therefore, the onus is on the patients, with this being the mother, that she wants to risk it or not. So, Morioki, at the end of the day, the patient knows what she's going through. She will know the consequence of what might happen if she does this thing. And she chose it. She chose to go through it. That is her problem. Unfortunately for her, it might not end well for her, and it really does not exactly matter. She knew.
Okay.
She chose it. That's all. Please, let's end it there, Morioki. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you as well. And thank you, Morioki, for your points. I will respond to them after Tony. Anthony, go ahead.
Thank you, Dorcas. I want to respond first to that question about what if the woman or what if the lady wants the child that you don't want? I personally would say no. It is a form of a setup. I would refuse it 100%. Because it will end up being a setup and you will never get off the hook. I will not accept. Then, supporting abortion or not supporting, I think my opinion is 50-50. I do support, I also do not support. The reason why I do support is one, I said medical ground. Another one, if it is a case of rape, I do support abortion because a rape is something bad, is something that even giving birth to such a kid, you might bring even very bad gene in your life. You know the dad is a rapist, even the kid might be a rapist and will bring you many cases. I don't like it, I don't support it. So I would say, in case of rape, I would support abortion because maybe this was a young girl who was not ready for it. Maybe this is a lady who is married, and then here is another case of another child in a family from unwanted pregnancy, from unwanted person. I do support abortion. Again, it can come by accident because of maybe during sexual intercourse. It do happen without plan. You know, when you bring a child, I don't even support that idea of anakuja na sahani yake. Should be something planned. So I also support that one. But again, I'm against pregnancy because of irresponsibility. People will be very responsible, knowing very well, after all, I'll do abortion. Even our teens will do it irresponsibly because they know, after all, I will go to the back door and do abortion. I think even within the family, you might be married to a lady who don't want your kid. You can do it the back door to ensure that she is not having your own kid, but she is having a kid from somewhere, because we have found such cases of families with children who do not relate to the dad or to the husband at all. They are all from different men out there. We have had those cases where a man does not have any child within the family, and yet he is bringing up children. So that's the reason I'm 50. There are so many other reasons, but for me, I am not against it, and also I'm on it. So that's how I'm saying I'm supporting 50-50.
Okay. We hear you, Anthony. Now, let me also give my take on anti-abortion arguments. Wait, I hope I have not cut you off, Anthony. Were you?
No, I'm okay.
Done? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So, what are the reasons against abortion? The primary one is the taking away of life. Most people say that abortion is getting rid of life. Forget the ones who equate it to murder. As I have explained previously, abortion is not the same as murder. There's a very big distinction here. And I explained it with my understanding of personhood. But there are still people who oppose. I'm getting feedback from JW. JW, please mute. Great. Now, most people still oppose abortion because they feel like it's taking away life. And I agreed. I said that a fetus is indeed a life, but it is not a human life yet. It is in a stage of development, kind of like the caterpillar that is yet to become a butterfly or a moth for that matter. So in response to this argument, I don't think all life should be preserved absolutely. I don't think all life should be preserved absolutely. I think we need to consider the perspective of the person that is bringing this life into the world. And if this person is not ready, for whatever reason, I will not even discriminate. For whatever reason, even if she has money, but she's in a stage in her career where she cannot take on the responsibility of parenting, I believe it is her right to proceed and terminate the pregnancy. And the question I can even ask this anti-abortion people is, then why do you excuse the termination of life? If you think that life should always be preserved, regardless of the stage of development, then why is it that you are okay with terminating a pregnancy or ending that life when it is rape or incest? It means that you don't think life should be preserved. Absolutely. There are conditions when it can be terminated. So that's one reason. Another reason given for abortion is that it can lead to complications. What Morioki spoke about, it can lead to physical complications. Let me address physical complications. Now, this is a scare tactic that has been used by many anti-abortion activists. They go and tell you, oh, you will become infertile. By the way, if it is a safe abortion, a medical abortion, if it is a backstreet abortion, definitely you will be in danger and it might affect your fertility in the future. If it is a backstreet abortion using some of those toxic concussions or those tools that are unsanitized and all that, that will definitely put you at risk. But if it is a medical abortion done under the care of a certified licensed professional, then you will not have problems with your fertility. In fact, it's very likely after they have done the abortion that you will get pregnant or even faster than you would the normal way. So it will not affect your fertility. Then when it comes to the physical aspects, like the blood clots, what he spoke about, the blood clots and the pain, the abdominal pain, those ones are temporary. They are just like a period. It's like that pain and all that clotting. In fact, women get clots during their periods all the time. But of course, those clots are bigger because it's actually getting rid of the products of conception from your body. But they are usually temporary. It's just like a period for 1 or 2 days, and then it's gone. As long as it's a safe one, then you will be okay. In fact, the risks of complications from an abortion vis-a-vis the complications from a pregnancy are so disproportionate. It was shown that if you take 10,000 births in the US, where at least they are a bit more advanced than some of us here, their medical system, they said that for every 10,000 women, the risk of complications from abortions, medical safe abortions, is 0.6 out of 10,000 women. But the risk of complications from birth, from childbirth, is 236 out of 10,000 women. So you see 236 versus 0.6. It is more risky for a woman's body to carry a child to term. There are so many complications that come with childbirth compared to the abortion. So get your facts right. This complication, these physical reactions, they are just temporary. All of them will come and go. You will bleed, you'll have abdominal pain, you will have those blood clots coming out of you, but that's it. They are temporary. Your fertility will remain intact. And in fact, you might even get pregnant faster if you don't take contraceptives. So that's one thing I wanted to say. Then on the mental effects of abortion, because Moroki also mentioned it, and many anti-abortion activists say that abortion should not be allowed because it leads to mental health problems for the formerly pregnant woman. And I would argue that these mental health problems are actually caused by the stigma associated with abortions. It is a socially created problem. If we normalized abortion, if we eliminated the stigma, not normalized, okay, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, abortion is an amazing thing, everybody should just be getting them left, right, and center. No, that's not what I mean. But if we destigmatized abortion, if we refrain from using the religious angle or some of this just conservative perspective, and we just made it a decision to be made by women who are pregnant, then those negative health outcomes, the mental health outcomes, the anxiety, the depression, blah, 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 they would be eradicated. There's that. Then we also have to think of the mental health problems that come with carrying a child to term and giving birth to a child that is unwanted. I would argue those problems are even much more. And now it's not just the mental health of you, the mother, it is also the mental health of now the child that has been born, because even them, they will struggle from many effects of being unwanted, being an unwanted child. So that's how I would respond to it. Now, the last argument I've had is that you had sex. So what were you thinking? What were you thinking you would make? You thought you'd make a chapati out of it? You thought you'd make rice out of it? Or you thought it would be a child? You know, some of these people say that it's your fault that you got pregnant, the two of you who had sex, so you should carry that pregnancy to term. And I think that is misguided, because you are punishing an unwanted child to come into this world where they are not wanted, where they will face possible neglect or poverty. You know, they won't have food, they won't have all these things that we as humans need, simply because you want to punish that couple for not thinking through the sex. No, I think let's not focus on punishing people. Let's focus on the pragmatic outcome. What is the best outcome is to have a wanted child. If a child is not wanted, let somebody be free to engage in an abortion. Lastly, I just had to add this last one because I hear it, even Moroki mentioned it again. But you can adopt. You can place it for adoption. Just carry it to term and place it for adoption. Now, it has been found that most women who carry pregnancies to term, they don't place them for adoption because of the guilt, or I don't even know, maybe the connection after carrying the child. So the child will have to grow up in an environment where they are not wanted. And even these places for adoption in Kenya, we are struggling with that. We have too many unplanned kids. Our streets are laden with street children. Our children's homes are few and underfunded. They don't have the capacity to take on all the children that were unplanned. My perspective is it is better to only have children that are wanted rather than to bring them and hope that somebody somewhere will take care of them in a children's home. And as we have seen in Kenya, we don't have the capacity to support them. So that's how I would respond to anti-abortion arguments. I know we can't agree. I know Moroki's perspective is set in stone, and he's I think the only, him and Anthony a bit are the only anti-abortion people, but we accept it. Now, the second last and last. What's the time? Yay, time is going, 1:38. Okay, let's answer those questions, those last two questions at a go. The second last one is, what is the effect of religion on abortion in a country? What is the effect that religion has on the attitude towards abortion? That's one. And then the final one is, how do we prevent abortion? Because as I said, it's not a party. Even as someone who is pro-choice and pro-abortion, I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it should be the first line of defense. I think we should take all the steps necessary before we get to that. It should be a last resort. But I think nobody should be denied that last resort. Yes, you should be able to take it, but it shouldn't be the first line of defense. So it's definitely better for us to have planned pregnancies, wanted children. I think it's definitely better to be in that position, not to be in a position where you have to decide whether to have an abortion or not. So that's the final question. How do we prevent abortions? What are some measures we can take to prevent abortions? Okay. By the way, there's another important question. Okay, I'll add that one. We can tackle all three at a go because time is running out. What is the effect of legally banning abortions? Like what they have done in the States right now. What is the impact? Here in Kenya also, we consider abortion to be illegal unless the mother is at risk. That's the only condition in Kenya where abortion is legal. So once again, guys, I'm repeating the three last questions that we're addressing. You can address all or you can address whichever speaks to you. One, what is the impact of religion on the attitude towards abortion? Two, what is the effect of legally banning abortion, like what has happened in America? Three, how do we prevent abortions? Great, I see Azrael's hand is up. Go ahead, Azrael.
All right, so the first question, the impacts of religion on abortion. I think that would depend on what's religion that you're talking about, right? So as earlier we said, different religions have different standards of what they relate or what they believe or should happen with abortion. I don't know, but when we say even Christian, right? Even the Christians are a lot of there's so many denominations under that umbrella. So I'm not even sure what the consensus is. But if I should ask, I'm sure that they will say that it's conception, right? So their belief system will dictate would dictate that their stance on abortion. And if those people happen to be in leadership, right? You can see where I'm going with this. So, so they will also, with their religious stance, right, make the laws and now legal codes surrounding those beliefs of theirs. So if they believe that the the child is, let's say, a person right from conception, you are obviously going to have anti-abortion laws in your country if those are your leaders, right? And what some people say is, okay, the religion must be separate from the. I don't think it's really possible for people to separate their philosophies or their beliefs out of anything. So if you're voting for your majority Christian people and you go into the parliament, you are going to have Christian-like laws governing your country. The same thing with Muslim, the same thing with any other religion. If the majority of your religious alignments, your abortion laws are going to be like that, anti-abortion, or either pro-abortion, or whatever the beliefs lean towards to the religious one. And what wasn't that? Remind me, what is it?
The second one was, what is the effect of legally banning abortions in a country like what has happened in the US? And the final one is, how do we prevent abortions?
Okay. So when you legally ban abortions, I do not think that illegalities, right, in general, do not stop from committing those illegalities. All it does is basically make them find ways to. Laws are there to govern behaviors. If those behaviors don't exist, there will be no laws governing them. So if you make abortion illegal, what's happening is that people are still going to do abortions, except here is that because it's illegal, right, you can't really go for a certified doctor to do it for you. Therefore, if you still want to go and do abortion, which people mostly want to do, they go to a back alley doctor,
Azrael,
in
we have
quotes,
lost you.
or somebody who is ugly. So they go for a back alley operation or get rid of the pregnancy. And these people, as I get, they're not satisfied. You've lost me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back. You're back. It's okay.
All right. I'm very sorry for that. My network is not really stable. So as I was saying earlier on, things being illegal does not make people stop committing them. So if you make abortion illegal, what it does is to limit the access to professional doctors. So if people cannot go to the professionals to terminate their safe means, people who are not certified, registered, or even unqualified to do so, this will lead to a lot of complications to the health of the mother, a lot of complications, even to death, a lot of death, mostly. So that's one effect of legally banning abortion, is people will go for illegal abortions instead. Sorry, I say illegal abortion. Yes, people will go and do illegal abortions instead. Back alley surgeries, or what's not that they may do, buy chemicals to drink, whatever thing that they will do to get rid of the child. And it's not safe. There's a whole data about this thing. It's not safe nor right for the body of the lady who is going to do that. The
Now we have lost you again, Azrael.
third question was about how to prevent the pregnancy. The third question was about unplanned, how to stop unplanned pregnancy.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, how to prevent unplanned
So
pregnancy.
okay. The first answer to that is people must learn to pull out, especially the men. My fellow men, please learn how to take your thing out of the woman at the moment of ejaculation. Some of you have a hard time doing that. You don't want to be a father or at least reduce the chance of a pregnancy. The first thing that you can do is to pull out. I don't know why it's so difficult for my fellow brothers to do this thing. I mean, all right, I think let me just point out. So I think the first thing is the pull out method. The men should very much learn to do that. It's not really the difficult thing. I don't see why some of you have so difficulty doing this thing. But and if you want to pull out, wear a condom. Wear a condom. There are any pharmacy store that you enter, they sell condom everywhere. And I mean that's everywhere they sell condom, every grade of it. So second thing is the protection. And also for our ladies, in order for you to also help us as we are doing this, sometimes the condoms are not 100% foolproof. So please, you can also help us by also taking your pills, right? Some pills, there are pills to the both for pre-pregnancy, then also there's also the post-pregnancy type of pills also there for chemical, I would say, to chemical abortion, something like that. There are pills that you one after pills. That was called one after pills too. Please help us do this too. But I'm not really sure. I don't know how the cost of those pills for the ladies. Because are they really expensive or they're cheap? I'm not really sure about it.
In Kenya, they are affordable. You'll get a pair at 100 to 200 shillings. But I mentioned this previously, that morning after pills are not fail safe. They don't work when the woman is already ovulating. That's the caveat. Yeah, most people don't know that. They think that it works across the board. When she's ovulating, like a sperm, it will meet the ovum. Yeah.
And while Azrael is still here, he has just said something that I totally disagree with. Pulling out. Now, I am not a man, but of course I'm on the other side of counting on somebody to do something. But what I have heard, and I believe it, that it could be just okay all the time, except when the woman is ovulating. It interferes with somebody else's operations. So, yeah, because things are hot and the guy, pulling out is very hard. So that pulling out, I think you need to revise it, Azrael.
No, I fully disagree with you there over there in Debbie. Like seriously, I really disagree with you in Debbie. I'm not sure, but I think that it is common knowledge that even if people don't understand the mechanics of how fertilization happens, most people are aware that ejaculating into a woman is what causes her to be pregnant. So if you don't want a pregnant woman on you, the first thing and the most important thing that you as a man, your first line of defense is to pull out. Excuse my crude language, but I don't know how grippy that pussy is that you can pull out, or how sweet it is that you cannot pull out. I don't really get it because I'm really able to pull out whenever I want. So
I'm going to. Can I explain again?
Okay, go on.
So during ovulation, women's temperature is somehow higher, and therefore very welcoming, very inviting, a very good environment for whatever the guy is doing. and the idea of pulling out, it might not work. And anyway, there is pre-ejaculate, and it could have seed. I don't think that is a very good way to go about it.
Right. So, like, I understand from what you are saying, right? There's the pre-ejaculating to there, but let's be honest, right? As I understand that that's also there. Let's also know that the men can also do the active thing, right, of taking that. Because what are the chances that a pre-ejaculate could go and impregnate a lady as opposed to a full-blown ejaculation thing? What are the chances?
Oh my goodness! Of course, the chances are there, but they are not zero. They are not zero.
Yes, they're not zero endeavor, but I believe the likelihood is very low. If you check the stats, it's very unlikely that pre-ejaculate will make a woman pregnant unless it is after the first shot and he didn't urinate. There's a higher likelihood. But the pre-ejaculate, at the beginning, it's been shown it doesn't have a lot of spermatozoa in it. Maybe Eugene can confirm he's here. Thankfully. Hey, Eugene, we have been waiting. Thank you as well. Let's hear from Morioki first because he had raised his hand and because he's a man of few words. Then we go to Eugene, who has been missing in action throughout the discussion.
Thanks, Dr. I don't think, in my view, it's right to compare childbirth and abortion. Because you say a childbirth is risky. There are risks to childbirth. But childbirth is necessary. We are here because of childbirth. So comparing abortion, which is best avoided, and childbirth, I don't think it goes together because we need childbirth. We want to avoid abortion. I never get me. Then also, you see, if you legally ban abortion, like Azrael said,
Morioki, that is according to you. You said we want to avoid abortion. That's according to you.
Yes, you say that. No, doctor, you say that yourself. You even say that yourself. You say that yourself. You said it. Want to avoid abortion.
Yes. We want to avoid abortion. We also want to avoid unwanted babies. And for me, it is more important to avoid an unwanted baby than to avoid an abortion. If I had to choose between an abortion and an unwanted baby, I would go for the abortion. So it's a spectrum. It's not absolute. That's according to you. According to you, it's a big problem that it should never be an option. That abortion should never be an option. But according to me, it should be an option.
No,
rather than bringing an unwanted child into this world.
No, Doctor, my point is you say childbirth is risky. And it has higher risk than abortion.
Yes, it is. It is risky. You're saying, you said that childbirth is necessary. No, it is not necessary. It's not necessary. We have too many children in this world who should not be here. Childbirth is not necessary. That's where we disagree.
Doctor, you're not getting me. I'm saying you're not getting me. I'm saying childbirth.
I've gotten you. You are saying I should not compare abortion with childbirth because childbirth is necessary. Abortion is not necessary. Wrong. Wrong. According to you. But according to me, an abortion is necessary if this child is unwanted. So according to you, you hold a different view. That's your perspective. So don't go telling me I shouldn't compare. I will compare. Anyway, continue with your point.
Okay. Yeah, illegally banning. Yeah, like Azrael said, when you ban it, it's risky because guys will go to the back door and reach in unsafe ways. So there'll be more death if they ban abortion. You get more death. Then Then prevention, for me, it's simple. Just tell the people, like the young people, what you're feeling in your body is not pleasure, it's survival. These things you're feeling, these hormones are survival things, not pleasure, they're survival. So watch your back. Then religion, of course, religion, I'm sure I'm not sure, but I think most will say, like, Christians will say that abortion is wrong. So if you're a Christian, it will be tricky. You'll have a lot of guilt, and you might even, yeah. So I think most religions prevent abortion. Thanks.
Okay. That is Morioki's very conservative view on abortion, because he's endorsing the abstinence approach. Tell those teenagers not to get fooled by feelings because they are about survival. And I disagree with the abstinence only approach. Time and time again, it has been shown abstinence only sex education doesn't work. That's what we use here in Kenya. We tried to push for comprehensive sex education. The clergymen refused. And we have 40% teenage pregnancy rates in Kenya, while in countries where they don't push the abstinence only, they give them options. They talk about condoms. They give them contraceptives. Those ones, their pregnancy rate is close to 1%. Their teenage pregnancy is close to 1%. Upper Kenya, it is close to 40% because of abstinence only. It doesn't work. Your method doesn't work. It works for people like you who are good at stifling their feelings, their hormones. You know, you are a breed on your own. You're not a normal person. You are very special. I keep saying you would have been a clergyman, Morioki, but that approach doesn't work for the rest of us. It's good to be pragmatic and to go with practical approaches. So your abstinence only, empirically, it is not fact. Research shows it doesn't work. So just continue. You'll continue talking. You continue telling the teens, don't do it. It's about survival. They won't listen. It is better to be pragmatic. Talk to them about contraceptives, about condoms, and that will work. That reduces the rate. Anyway, we agree to disagree. Luce Veleli, karibu to the discussion. You are coming when we are finishing. I don't know if you heard the 3 questions, the 3 final questions we are addressing.
Yeah, you can actually repeat the 3 questions. I actually joined a bit late.
Yes. So one of them is what is the impact of religion on the attitude towards abortion? 2, what is the effect of legally banning abortions in a country, like what happened in the US following Trump's election? And then 3, how do we prevent unplanned pregnancies and eventually abortion? If you can prevent unplanned pregnancies, we can prevent abortion. So yeah, those 3.
Okay, let me start by responding to the first question, the impact of religion.
Also one bonus question from Stano. He had asked, if a woman wants to keep a child and the man wants to abort, how do we solve that impasse? Or if the woman wants to abort, but the man wants to have a baby, how do they solve that impasse? Yeah.
Okay, let me first start by responding to ex-Pastor Stano's question. How we go about abortion, we are actually guided by the laws of the land. For instance, here in Kenya, I think if it's Article 26 of the Constitution that clearly outlines how we approach abortion and under the special circumstances in which only abortion is permitted. Last I checked, we only had 3 exceptions that abortion will be considered either it's legal or if it's illegal. And these are the same grounds in which we have NGOs like Mary Stopes, which are actually trying to, push forth this pro-life agenda. And the reason they still remain, it's because we have, our constitution doesn't clearly outline in black and white what should be done towards abortion. It only talks about 3 exceptions. That's Article 26, which talks of exceptions of prohibition of abortion. We only have 3 occasions. I think you talked about it, but I can just go through around it and then respond to ex-Pastor Stano's question. So the first exception is if there's need for emergency treatment. Now that we can have abortion going on legally, yeah. The second exception is if the life or health of the mother is in danger. Now, life or health, they are taken synonymously, but they are two different things. When you talk about the life, this is immediate if it poses an immediate danger towards the mother's life. And when we talk about the health, it doesn't necessarily just encompass the physical health, but even the social health, the mental health, the psychosocial health. So this is where we have exception, things like, incest, when we have a father raping a daughter and then they conceive a child. So under such circumstances, we can still have abortion, because the argument there will be that, the psychological welfare of the mother will be severely affected, because you can imagine raising a child from incest. So it doesn't really sit well. And the last one is if it is permitted by any other written law. And this means that if we have any other exception by a qualified medic who has seen that indeed we need to have this abortion going on. So that is under the duly advice of a qualified physician or a medical doctor or a gynecologist. So that is what is meant by the written law. So we only have 3 exceptions. Now, when it comes to, for example, if you have a couple and the mother wants to abort, the father doesn't want to abort. Here in Kenya, as long as it doesn't meet the 3 requirements, the 3 criteria, it will still be considered illegal. However, given that it's illegal, it doesn't mean that someone somewhere won't still do it. And this still brings us back to the impact. If we now ban all the abortions, what will be the impact in the society? And time and time again, and even studies have shown, the moment we make abortion entirely illegal, we will only be empowering the quacks, the people in the underground systems, the people who are out, the people who are in it for the money. So in this sort of desperation, people will actually capitalize on the people who are desperate, because they know, what, if abortion is illegal, I can actually get a cheaper one from a quack. And what makes quacks dangerous is, number one, they're unskilled. And if they're skilled, they use crude methods, which will still impact the life of the mother. When you look at the last data by the Kenya National Statistics Bureau, when it comes to the top 5 maternal killers in the country, we have unsafe abortions coming in at number 5. Yeah. Number 1, we have things like postpartum hemorrhage, which is a risk in normal pregnancies. Number 2, we have things like sepsis and all that. When it comes to unsafe abortion, it's still number 5. But the fact that it's number 5, it's still not a good thing, because if we never actually banned abortion entirely, if we went by the liberal ways, studies would have shown that, the risk, the maternal risk factors wouldn't be that much. But the fact that we have it illegally, someone somewhere is capitalizing on it, taking advantage of the desperate moms who want to get rid of their pregnancies. Now, when you have that issue at hand, we also have in the issue of religion. When you look at most religions, how they approach the issue of abortion, they talk that, yes, it's human life, so it's murder. I only agree to them the point that it's human life, but so what? Like, it's just a stage of human life. I get that once conception is done, human being, we call it a diploid number of chromosomes. We have like 46. That is 23 from the dad, 23 from the mom. So they come together, form a complete genome of a human being. That is 46 chromosomes. So whether you talk about the zygote, whether you talk about the blastocyst, whether you talk about the fetus in itself, yeah, it's human life, but it's a stage of human life. So I still don't get the logic. Yes, it's human life, but do we now still risk the life of the mother, the welfare of the mother, whether it's mental health, physical health, just because it's human life? We're not being sincere about ourselves. And that's the mistake religion does. It's not being sincere. Like, it's that the fact that it's a human life, it can now overwrite the mother's welfare, whether it's mental, whether it's whichever. Just because a father raped a daughter, now the daughter got pregnant, now we can't do anything about it because it's human life. Yet we don't want to look at the long-term implications of that. And another thing, apart from incest sources, we can also have reasons why abortion is being done. When you look at the West, they have developed methods of diagnostics. We have issues like, cerebral palsy. We have issues like Down syndrome. In the West, these conditions can actually be diagnosed quite early during pregnancy, as early as 10 weeks into pregnancy. they can actually determine, you know what, this kid might end up having Down syndrome, might end up having Bell's palsy, such kind. So in the most liberal countries, it's actually okay for once a mother has made a diagnosis and the doctor tells the mother that this kid, there's a big chance that he won't be or she won't be really that productive in the community, then it only makes sense if you can terminate the pregnancy. Then they're not usually stuck at the point that, you know what, it's human life, so what, so it's human life, so we can still go on and have, people who will be dependent. I don't have anything against the disabled, yes, but you can get, I think you get my point there. So religion takes a different approach. It just fixates on the point that it's human life, so we can't do anything about it. And this actually poses a problem towards towards bodily autonomy, towards the people who carry the pregnancy itself. And as we know, pregnancy itself, it doesn't come risk-free. It actually has a lot of risk as well, whether it's mental impact, the physical health of the mom, the social welfare, and all that. So religion takes a really different approach, which I disagree with. And I think there was a third question. I don't know if I've addressed the third question. You can actually repeat the third question.
Preventing unplanned pregnancy.
Okay. Yeah, when it comes to preventing unplanned pregnancy or even preventing abortion entirely, I usually say, it's a multifaceted approach. We have different stakeholders coming in place. We can't just sit on, for example, you can't just say that let's abstain and then we hope to make changes. We ought to be realistic in what we need to do or what we ought to do. So just saying that abstaining doesn't even make any sense. And the people who talk about abstaining, funny thing, they're the ones who believe in virgin conception. And it's literally ironic. Like, okay, so you can abstain as much as you want, but they're the same people who believe that you can get pregnant through non-sexual means. So we can't really let them dictate what really works and what really doesn't work, because they're really outside reality. They don't talk with facts. The religious folk, that is. So one of the methods we can actually use to combat things like, early pregnancies and abortions, we can talk about comprehensive sex education, because that's what is lacking in our society as a whole. And when you look at the fears that the religious people want to put across, they say that, when you teach sex education, you're just making our girls immoral and all that. But these are unfounded. Funny thing about such policies, they usually ought to be informed, backed by studies. You don't just make policies based on what you're feeling or emotions, because most of the time you will go wrong. We actually need studies. Studies have been done. Studies have shown that when people have comprehensive sex education, they can make, informed decision towards their private sexual health, reproductive health, and informed decision, which means that the number one, they won't go to quacks because they know what they want. They know the risk. They can't make uninformed decisions if they're not informed. And one of the ways to inform the masses is through comprehensive sex education. But yes, I agree. Someone earlier said that, yes, it's a major challenge in Kenya because the religious folk are actually against it. And yes, they're actually against it. And we understand why they're against it. They work with emotions. They don't actually have any facts that they go with. And number two, the other way we can actually use to combat that issue is, if we have access to contraceptives. And I will really encourage the point that, yes, people need to be aware of the contraceptives. When we talk about the e-pills, and I actually support Dorcas's point. When it comes to e-pills, they don't really, they aren't really anti-abortion pills per se. They only prevent ovulation. But once we had a client who has undergone ovulation, the e-pills literally won't really work. Pregnancy will just happen the way it happens. So the e-pills are not really they're not really abortion medications. I'm not sure if you talked about the modes of induced abortion. I can just go on quick and just mention the three main methods. We have the medical methods. Number one, we use the pills, the medical pills. They're called misoprostol and others that come into that place. So they just take the medication and we have expulsion of the conceptus, the products of conception, that is. The second method we can have, it's a manual vacuum aspiration. They literally aspirate, they suck the products of conception from the uterus and everything and all, it comes out. The third one is the surgical means. It's called DNC, dilatation and curettage. They just get into the uterus, they dilate it or open it up, and then they scrape everything else that comes in. And depends, the safety of these 3 different methods, it depends. If we have someone who is qualified, someone who knows what they're doing, if they are doing it in a place that's clean, using clean equipment, the aseptic technique, the risk factors aren't really that much. Now, the problem with quacks, they don't really observe such strict regulations. They're not using clean equipments. They are unskilled, number 1. Number 2. Number 3, they're in it for the money. So you can understand how we would have, for instance, our women having such complications, whether it's sepsis, whether it's, other complications like a uterus literally bursting because of the crude techniques they usually employ because they're not trained. So if we had abortion being, for example, legalized, we will have a reduced number of these quacks in practice. So at the end of the day, we will have really low mortality rates accompanied by abortions or induced abortion. So, and studies have actually backed that up. So if we want to ban it now, we will be putting ourselves at a difficult place. So it won't really be that logical. Yeah. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Very well said. And you have indeed given us answers to some of the questions that we asked. I won't even bring up another very silly idea someone had because our time is up, guys. It's already past 2. So let's give our closing remarks. I think the next person in the line is Ndeve.
I think I should pass my chance to Dr. Luceveleli because we had this this idea coming from Azrael. Azrael, are you there? I think he quit. And he was advocating for pulling out. And I just don't want that to be left hanging in this forum because it's not a good method to go by, particularly during the ovulation of the woman. I just want you take my time. Thank you.
Kindly, because he has just spoken, allow me to make my contribution, and then we'll hear from Luceveleli on the method, the withdrawal method, on the effectiveness. So, first question, what is the impact of religion? Religion is often anti-abortion, not all, Christians specifically. I think Muslims are more tolerant because they perceive pregnancies to be a mass of cells. At least for the past couple of weeks, Muslims are in support of abortion, but to a certain extent. However, for Christians, it is often anti-abortion. And what I would like to tell the Christians is I think their perspective is not founded on their holy text. It's just based on some agreement, some consensus among the clergy, but it's not based on their holy text because their holy text is contradictory. Like I said previously when we talk about religion, that no one idea, no one morally controversial idea has one angle in the Bible. If it is murder, if it is war, if it is abortion, you will find support for either positions. So if somebody claims, oh, the Bible forbids me from raping people, you will give them Deuteronomy 22, which is actually a command on raping, on the benefits you can get if you rape someone in the Bible. So the Bible is not a good standard of morality, and it's not objective by any means, shape, or form. So this is what I mean when it comes to the issue of abortion and Christianity. They like to use Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. And other similar verses that talk about God having a plan for you prior to you being conceived. So they use conception as the parameter to say that a person becomes a person when they are conceived. So everything throughout the pregnancy is a person, and they should not be aborted. However, there are also other verses in the Bible that endorse abortion. There's this one in Exodus. Kumbuka, the one in Jeremiah comes from the Old Testament. So they can't say, oh, but that's the Old Testament. It comes from the Old Testament. So you can't have it both ways, Christians. You can't say, I will use the Old Testament when it promotes a positive idea in my book, but if it promotes a negative one, then I will discard the Old Testament. You can't have it both ways, dear Christians. You have to take the Bible for all of it from beginning to end. So the Bible in Exodus 21, 22 to 25 says, when two men fight and injure a pregnant woman so that there's a miscarriage, and yet no further harm follows, the one responsible shall be fined. Yeah. So he's fined not because of the miscarriage, but because of what? He's fined for the miscarriage, but nothing else happens to him. But if any harm follows, especially to the woman, then you shall give life for life, an eye for an eye. So according to this verse, the harm to the woman is more important than the harm to the fetus. Yeah. Now, another one that is actually more direct is Numbers 5:24 to 27. Forced abortions. The priest shall make the allegedly adulterous woman. Okay, if the background was, if you are a husband and you suspect that your wife is cheating on you, this is what it says, Numbers. The priest shall make the allegedly adulterous woman drink a certain concoction. If she has been unfaithful to her husband, her womb will discharge, meaning she will have an abortion. But if her womb will discharge and her uterus will drop. But if she has been faithful to her husband, then nothing will happen to her. Well, of course, this is untrue. Based on whether someone is faithful or not, they will miscarry. I think there were so many women in that time who suffered profoundly because of that verse. They were accused of being unfaithful simply because they miscarried. They had the forced abortion because of that superstitious idea that if she's unfaithful, she will lose the pregnancy. If she's faithful, she'll keep the pregnancy. No, you will lose it either way if it is a toxic concoction. So yeah, that's what I had to say on the impact of religion. I think church and state should be separate. If your constitution is a secular constitution like it is in America, then they shouldn't allow religious bullying. Yeah, because that's what is happening in that country. They are taking away women's right to choose. Second question, effects of legally banning abortion. I will not belabor the point you all have made. I agree, it only makes issues worse, and it also affects women who have spontaneous abortions. Remember my definition of spontaneous abortions? They are the ones that occur, quote unquote, naturally. You know, the body just expels the pregnancy by itself. So what has been happening of late in the US is in states which have banned abortion, these women cannot get post-abortion care from doctors. Doctors are scared of providing even that, lest they are sued for it. So it affects all women when it is passed. It isn't a good idea. Lastly, how do we prevent abortions? I think all of you have made really good points. And I would just like to reiterate the importance of education, not just for teens, but also for adults. I'm finding that so many adults don't know much about their bodies. I myself have learned a lot about my reproductive health over the past 2 years alone. So I'm imagining now the one who is 21. Educate yourself. Information is at your fingertips. That's what I would have to say. on all this. Oh yeah, lastly on Stano's question, I agree with Luceveleli. Our constitution restricts abortion. It is technically illegal to conduct an abortion, but they happen. Gosh, I know so many friends of mine who've gotten abortions. They happen. These things happen. They get the pill. They do it. They do it. So, in that scenario, if the woman wants a child, guy, my battery is low. Guy. Okay, I'll need to stop my video and connect it just after speaking. So if the woman wants a child while the man doesn't, there's nothing he can do. It's her body. Likewise, if she wants to abort and he wants a child, there's nothing he can do. You cannot force a woman to carry a pregnancy. It's her body. That, unfortunately, is the price you pay for being a man. The fact that you don't carry this child, you can't dictate terms of engagement for the woman. All you can do is just have a conversation with her before having sex on safety, on planning pregnancies. You can take the measures. But in case they don't work, as we said, contraceptives are not 100%, they can fail. In case they do, you just have to be aware that it's no longer in your hands anymore. Because the women carry the burden of pregnancy, bringing humans into the world. It's a very, very heavy burden, very risky. But men also carry the burden of not being able to impose their will on a woman's body. You just have to accept it. That's my response to ex-Pastor Stano. Great. So now I open it to, I think it was Morioki first and then Luceveleli to respond to Neve's question as I put my phone on charge.
Thanks. Just a quick question to Luceveleli. Are you saying Down syndrome and cerebral palsy need less of a chance? Luceveleli.
Yes, come again, please.
Are you saying if a kid is seen to have Down syndrome and a cerebral palsy, they deserve less of a chance?
No, I'm saying that we actually have the technology to make a diagnosis very early before we have further development of that child or that stage of human being. At 10 weeks post conception, we can actually do a test known as chorionic villus sampling. This test can give an insight on the status of the cells that are about to form a fetus later on in life. They can actually tell you if you have normal cells or abnormal cells. Now, if you have that know-how, if you have that sort of knowledge or that sort of insight that this potential cell or this potential human being, there's a high probability that they will be incapacitated later on, maybe post-birth, after birth, because we actually know that things like cerebral palsy, they are like limiting. They can be limiting in life. They can actually make them miss out a huge lot in life. I'm not saying that the people who are affected by cerebral palsy deserve to be ended. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if we have the knowledge now to make a diagnosis that the potential human being has a probability of being that affected. Now, in the West, it's actually okay to terminate that pregnancy once you have that evidence that you're dealing with abnormal cells or an abnormal fetus. Instead of waiting past the 9 months have ended, then you end up with someone who will be, for example, requiring your full-time assistance throughout their life. They will be very much dependent. And we know that, one of the joys of life is if you're a natalist, you want to procreate life, wouldn't it make much sense if you're bringing children or a species which can be self-sustaining instead of being dependent? Okay, it's not that I'm trying to I I think it's important to distinguish. I'm not really trying to stigmatize those who are affected or are afflicted by the condition. I'm saying that if you have a know-how of predicting that this child or this potential child will be affected, will it make much sense of terminating before things get out of hand or things progress? That's what it's done in the West, and that's why they do tests like chorionic villus sampling to just diagnose such conditions and then terminate if there's need for that. But here in Kenya, it's a little bit hard because number one, the test is expensive. Not everyone can afford it, and only a few facilities actually do that test. So it's like a gambling game. You actually want to have kids, but it's a gamble. There's a probability that you might have kids who will require your assistance in life. Kids who have cerebral palsy, kids who have Down syndrome. It's actually a gamble because not everyone can afford that sort of technology or that sort of healthcare. So yeah, that's what literally goes on.
Okay, fine, thanks. And my closing remarks are for rape, I'll support abortion. If the mother says that she wants this kid to go because she was raped by somebody, there I support abortion. Then also Anthony M made a very important point. He said if you allow abortion, kids will become irresponsible. That's a very strong point. If you make abortion legal, some kids will be irresponsible. They'll have sex knowing that I'll kill the baby. So that's a downside of making it legal, because they'll have sex knowing that I'll just kill the baby. Then one last point is this orgasm. I read it leads to ejaculation, where semen is released from the penis. This results in fertilization. So this orgasm is key to life. And my point is that most women say orgasm is the best part of sex, yet that's life beginning. So my point is this pleasure is real life beginning. So be careful. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Morioki. But we descended into a rabbit hole of you demonizing pleasure and you generalizing about all sex. We spent a lot of time, close to an hour on that, so we'll not even go back there. We'll not go back there, but thank you, Morioki, for your contribution. Now, I see two hands are up, Ndeve and Lucheveleli. Ndeve, would you like to go first, or should we give it to Lucheveleli? Ndeve, are you there? Or is this from the previous time? Okay, it seems it might be. Sawa, let's hear from you, Lucheveleli.
Okay, let me first start by responding to the withdrawal question. Okay, when you look at the methods that we've been using for contraceptive in quotes methods, withdrawal has been one of the ancient ways. Yes, there's some people who actually, it's anecdotal evidence that it works for them. They're actually pros in withdrawal and all that. It's okay, you can do that. But statistically speaking, it's one of the most flawed methods you can actually gamble in terms of preventing pregnancy out there. Um, in as much as you can say that you're a pro of, doing that withdrawal method, it's also known as coitus interruptus, like you want to ejaculate and then you take it on time. It's okay. But there's still a big probability of you messing up and then ending up with a pregnancy. When even it still brings us to the debate of the pre-ejaculate, also known as the pre-cum. In as much as most of the time we are taught to believe that it's safe, it's sterile, it doesn't have the seed, the spermatozoa or the sperm cells. Yes, most of the time that actually works, but you can actually be part of the statistics for the ones who are unlucky or unfortunate, because it's all about probability. There's still a probability that that pre-ejaculate contains the sperm or a seed, and it doesn't really take 20 million sperms to fertilize an egg. It only takes one. So again, it's really not a guarantee that the fact that you're having sex, it's a guarantee that you'll get pregnant, but it's still not a guarantee that the fact that you're having sex you're withdrawing, that you won't get pregnant. It's chaotic probability that you're dealing with. And when you look at the one sperm chance of it getting in and being successful in fertilizing an egg, there's that chance. So why would you risk that? Yet we have better contraceptive methods. You have condoms, literally. You can have a vasectomy, and even that vasectomy, in as much as it's one of the most accurate, not one of the, I can say most accurate, because it's 99.99, but there's still a less than 1% chance. We can have people having their tubes recanalizing themselves, and then we have a communication, and then we have sperms getting in. So it renders the vasectomy useless. There's that chance. But why not gamble with chances that have been proven they have a high probability of success, whether it's condoms, whether it's vasectomy. And even condoms, it doesn't really mean that condoms are foolproof. They can actually mess up depending on your technique, or as a user, that is, or the manufacturer. There's still possibility of errors, but why restrict yourself to something like withdrawal, yet you have better methods? It's just trying to be reasonable. Yeah, so yes, I agree that it's not the best method. It's actually one of the worst methods, because you're gambling. The fact that it works, the fact that your friend, it works for him, it doesn't mean that it will work for you. You will actually have a risk of maybe messing it up. And okay, so saying that, I think it's Muruki that said that there's a risk, if we actually allowed abortion, it will actually encourage young girls to be reckless. That's because we actually don't know what really encompasses legal abortion, or abortion done the right way. When it comes to what is really done in healthcare, we actually have something known as post-abortal care, and it's just something that contains something we call the 5 C's of post-abortal care. The 5 C's are, it's like a flowchart of things you're required to do if you've undergone abortion, or an induced abortion, to just prevent any complications like the ones we talked about, whether it's sepsis, whether it's becoming infertile and all that. One of the first is counseling. So in counseling, you're actually told what to expect, and how to go about them, and their requirements as well. So whether it's the side effects, whether it's how society views you, whether it's how your family views you, you're actually counseled on how you should carry yourself about that. So these are actually one of the important foundations of post-abortal care. Now that you have counseling, we also have comprehensive treatment. In comprehensive treatment, whether it's that medically induced abortion through the pills, or whether it's through the surgery way, the surgical way, whether it's that dilatation and curettage, it should be comprehensive, in that we have a less or minimum room for error, so that you can have a successful outcome of that procedure. So it actually makes sense that it's part of the 5 C's of post-abortal care. Another C is that we have antibiotic cover, because, as you know, this is something that it's usually invasive most of the time. And if we have errors, for example, you have a retained product of conception, we have cells that they were supposed to form a fetus, but they were retained, there's a chance that it will become cancerous if it's not evacuated from the uterus. There's a chance that it will become infected, leading to sepsis and other nasty complications that will kill the mother. Yeah. So it should be comprehensive. We should give them antibiotic cover to prevent such scenarios. Yeah. And also another last C of that care, we also have things like contraceptives themselves. The fact that you've undergone an abortion, there's a chance that you will actually get pregnant again. And it depends. You don't want to get pregnant that fast. So there's a chance for you getting into family planning and contraceptive options. So it's still part of the 5 C's. So I think I've mentioned. Now we've left with the last C, that is encompassing the community and advocacy. So if there's a family circle, a support group, there's a way that they are told to, to just reduce on the stigmatization or the stigma of abortion. Because, as I've told you, abortion doesn't necessarily affect the mother herself. It affects everyone around her, friends, how she relates with everyone, because there's actually a lot of stigma, towards people who have undergone abortion. Society usually looks down upon them. So it's actually a requirement that the 5 C's of post-abortal care should be emphasized. and people should actually be familiarized with them to avoid such stigmas. And just telling people that abortion, it's really not that of a taboo. It's usually one of it's a fundamental when you look at bodily autonomy and all that. So that's what I would say about it. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Luchaveneli. And then I also want to reiterate that Morioki is like, Anthony made a solid point by saying that allowing abortions would encourage teenagers to have sex recklessly. That mindset is the reason why teenage pregnancies in Kenya are so high, 40%, as I said. The reason is, it's the same reasoning that is applied for contraceptives. When we as the secular community, or maybe the medical community, advocates for comprehensive sex education and even giving of condoms or other contraceptives to teens, the religious people say, no, don't give them, because now they'll start having sex recklessly. They've been having sex. Let me tell you, social media teaches these teenagers. My niece is 17. She'll turn 18 in about a month's time. She knows so much. She probably knows more about sex than me, because she spends so much time online. These kids know, and they're already having it. Nothing you tell them will encourage. In fact, you are empowering them to do it safely. So it's not that it will lead to them having sex recklessly when you allow abortions. Actually, Luchaveleli has told you, it is a requirement. After an abortion, any health professional must speak to them about contraceptive options. Then, research-wise, it has been shown that that's not true. That's a fear-mongering tactic. It's been shown that in places where abortion is medically performed under safe conditions, and they follow those protocols, they talk to you about contraceptives afterwards, abortion rates don't skyrocket. They don't, because people are told that there is a more proactive method of preventing an unplanned pregnancy, and that is safe sex. So it's a lie, it's a myth to assume that people will start to have sex recklessly when you legalize abortion or you destigmatize abortion. Actually, the opposite will happen. So, guys, I think we need to call it a night. It is 2:39. Okay. Almost 1 hour later than we normally close. Thank you so much. All those who contributed. Still me, she was new in the meeting and she was such a breath of fresh air. I was glad she joined us. Thank you, Maurice. He only spoke at the beginning, but he mentioned almost all the talking points for the meeting. Thank you, David. Thank you, Morioki. You gave us the opposite perspective, even though, of course, you took us down a rabbit hole of demonizing sex and demonizing unnatural things. You don't want people to use contraceptives because they are not natural. Morioki, umetuonyesha mengi. So, but thank you for your contribution. Thank you, Azrael, for asking those tough philosophical questions about the notion of personhood. Thank you, ex-Pastor Sano, for giving us the example you've given us of your wife and kids. And thank you, Anthony, for your perspective as well. And of course, Eugene. We needed, this is a medical topic actually, so we really needed to hear from a medical professional, and it was so refreshing to hear those answers. El Maestro was saying you can get pregnant through anal sex. Guy, tumeona mengi meeting. Let's not go down that rabbit hole, but we debunked that. Anyway, I wish you all a lovely night, guys. Let us catch up Next time, mkumbuke to contribute towards our end year party. Hopefully, I will meet some of you then. Bye.